All right, we're live. Let's
Fantastic.
hope. I think things are good. We're rolling in. Twitter looks good. YouTube is good. Let's mute that. All right. All right, all right, all right. I kind of feel like this is not worth talking yet because I know no one will be actually in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
zero views.
Mine says 5 people watching now on
Five
YouTube
people. You know what?
specifically.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
All right. Hello,
yeah.
everyone.
It says two now, but yes.
Welcome in. Welcome in. It's been a little bit of a rush to get this all sorted, but we have made it. My name is Lachlan Abel. I'm here with Jacob Stevens and Ross Papadakis. We are here for the second semi-final after Jacob. Like, how do we even begin to describe that first game? The penalty, the save, the goal, the equaliser in regular time. It certainly lived up to expectations, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much par for the course for Phoenix victory games so far this season, in that they've been incredibly close and there's been a lot of late drama and stuff like that. But no, it was a real quality game from both sides. When I say that, I'm like, in terms of in general play, I think the finishing for both sides was poor, and they'd probably both look at it thinking there's chances there we should have taken that would have made things a bit easier. But the thing that really sucks is for the Phoenix's season to end on a note like that. They've been so good at home all season long, and in front of 33,000 people, for it to be an extra time goal for Chris Economides of all people. It sucks for them, but I mean, fair dues to victory. They held on in that first leg, and were able to capitalize on a bit more of an open game in this second one. And I mean, that's what they had to do. And I think it was a pretty tough ask for them to go all the way to Wellington and nab a win, but they managed it. So fair play.
I managed to get home because I was out for most of the first half and most of the second as well. But I came home and we saw the economy just go with my dad, and we both looked at each other, and about half a millisecond before I could get it out, he said, Chris Economides has scored two very important goals for Melbourne victory. He scored the one here that puts them through the grand final and the winner in an FA Cup. An FFA Cup. And that's about it. But he'll have some highlights to look back on in his Melbourne victory career for sure. Ross, the emotion of that game was ridiculous. It was such a built-up occasion. Wellington managed to sell out the caked in. The atmosphere was amazing from what I could see on TV. I'm sure it was even better at the ground. But it wasn't to be. Melbourne victory, go away and get it done.
I'm proud of the boys. It was looking ropey first half. You didn't really miss much, so that was okay in terms of that. But I think that's telling of that's good for football in New Zealand. I think so. It's a good set standard, I guess, for Auckland coming into the league.
Well, and I mean, we've already sort of seen that rivalry bubbling away, even though Auckland don't have a team, like, a squad announced or anything like that. Like, exactly. It's already, there's a little bit of banter going on, especially on social media. And I'm sure that they will try and capitalize on this as much as they can, keep it going.
Shall we, well, actually, you know what? Let's talk about the positives before we get to the penalty. The goals. Economides, Adama Traore. What a time for his second goal in his A-League career, victory career. I can't remember which one that was. But completely out of nowhere, just rifles it into the top corner. It's taken a lot to beat Alex Paulson this year, but that surely does it.
Mental. Where has that come from? It's one of those ones where I think everybody was expecting it would take sort of almost a moment of individual brilliance or something like that to break that game open. But just what a hit from your fullback. I don't know, that people were skying shots all game long, unable to get it on target, and he just pulls it out the bag like it was nothing. And that at that point I thought, victory have won. And then obviously the Phoenix came back and stuff. But no, fantastic hit.
I think Ross Italiano, you see that goal, you can probably take that one as well. You're like, if they're going to hit it from that far out and your fullback is going to come on and score a goal like that, all right, a bit of unluckiness there, you take it. But they've been so solid on set pieces that one from Economides is going to hurt.
Yeah, it was a bit of a sloppy goal as well. Like Economides just happened to be on the line, and it's in the most respect to Economides, it's kind of bounced off his head, and it's gone in a meter away from goal. But like I think Wellington can go away from that game very. I mean, they're very unlucky to not win that game, but victory through, I guess. So I can't really complain. But
All right. Well,
yeah.
before we get on to this next game, the Mariners and Sydney FC, the penalty. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what happened. I thought I understood the part of the handball law which said if it hits your body and then deflects into your arm, it wasn't a handball. And then I was because I was completely calm when the replays kept coming up because I thought that was the rule, no penalty, it's all good. And then Daniel Elder is sent to the screen, and I'm getting worried because we know what usually happens when they're sent to the screen. And then in my head, I'm thinking, well, if they give this a penalty, there's going to be a very interesting test for the whole live VAR thing. They're going to get on, the marks are going to turn on, he's going to explain his decision. I'm assuming they could hear it at the crowd, otherwise he would have in the stadium, otherwise he would have tried it again. But we didn't hear anything on the broadcast, right? So we don't even know why that decision was made. Jacob, I'm completely perplexed. But in the end, the result is that it just adds to the legacy that Paul Izzo was building in this final series.
Yeah, and partially good for my prediction as well. It was a shame that Paulson couldn't get on in on the act and make a save of his own, but half right is pretty good. I mean Izzo's a fantastic goalkeeper. I've always been a big fan of his, especially as an Adelaide fan, seeing him for so many years doing exactly that, just being able to save penalties like it's nothing. I mean, it wasn't the best of hits from Rufer, to be honest. A pretty savable height and location, but you've still got to actually make that save. And if he dives the wrong way, then it's in, and everyone's gone on about how great a penalty it was. So no, it was good work from Izzo, and I'm with you in that the handball law is particularly, it's just ambiguous almost in the way that it's written, in the way that it's applied. It's inconsistencies with it. I mean, offside was like that for a long time, right? And they've sort of cleaned that up a little bit more now. Handball is still an absolute mess, and I think it will be unless they just blanket go, there's no such thing as handball, or every time it touches the arm, it's handball. Like, I think those are the only two ways to remove that sort of grey area. The laws of the game themselves, like the actual law dictating handball, says nothing about it hitting the body, right? But but some of the stuff that IFAB have put out have suggested that if it hits the body, if it's a deliberate play of the ball and then it hits the arm or the hand or whatever, then it's not handball. But then there's some stuff where they've put out where it says if it takes a deflection and hits the hand and the hand makes it unnaturally bigger, then it's a handball. So it's just like, I don't think IFAB themselves even quite know what is and isn't a handball. And that doesn't help when referees have to make these decisions on game day with the eyes of everybody in Australia and New Zealand on them. It's like, well, one way or the other, it's going to be a decision that people are not happy with.
And then it would be remiss of us not to mention that Oscar Zavada goal. He got a rapturous applause and the chants of Zavada when he came on the field, because he's such a loved player over there, and he's missed out on a lot of the season through injury as well. But he comes on and scores, I think it was the 99th minute as well.
Yeah.
It didn't work out for the Phoenix in the end, but that moment, they will always have that moment. It reminds me of Sam Kerr's goal against England in the World Cup semi-finals. The game doesn't turn out the way you want it to, but you will always have that moment. And for Wellington fans, 34,000 of them at Sky Stadium celebrating a 99th minute equaliser. That's the moment that they'll hold on to, and it's the moment that's going to bring them back next season. So we'll talk about them more on the podcast during the week, but they've had an incredible season, and there's only optimism really for their future. But let's get on to this game right now. We have a big clash, of course, between the Mariners and Sydney coming up. Jacob, we've got the starting 11s on our screen. Our viewers can see them. Take us through what we're noticing and how these teams will look to set up tonight.
Well, the one thing I noticed straight away was that Mariners are completely unchanged, which doesn't surprise me because they had a decent game in that first leg. They were, given that bit of a leg up from some ill discipline from Sydney FC with those 2 red cards. And that sort of made things a little easier for the Mariners to control. But it's not surprising that they remain unchanged with the lineup that they've got. I mean, that back 4 of Farrell, Kautak, Hall, and Storm Roux is a pretty solid back 4. You've got Mikael Docker's obviously had a fantastic season just ahead in that sort of. It's kind of like a right wing back in a way, in that he does do a lot defensively, but he gets right up forwards as well. And you've got Storm Roux behind him. So it's the sort of really flexible role that he's very good at. And Ali Kuol starts again, who has had a very inconsistent season. And we've spoken a lot about how the Mariners have a few different strikers that offer different qualities. Clearly, the Mariners here think it's going to be a bit more of an open game. Sydney are going to be attacking them as much as possible. And we know that with Sydney's press as well, it does leave a lot of space in behind. Ali Kuol is exactly the sort of player that's going to be able to exploit that. And then, of course, you've got the likes of Josh Nisbet, who's just been one of the most consistent players all season long and is constantly creating for them. On the Sydney side, obviously, there's been a couple of changes. You have a back 4 that's looking a little bit different. You've got Ryan Grant in at right back. Gabriel Lacerda starts at centre back, who, again, a player that's been massively inconsistent. He looks very good when the ball's in front of him and he can defend, that sort of jockeying back towards goal sort of stuff. But when those balls are coming in behind, that's where he sort of struggles. And so that could mean that we see a change to how Sydney press and set up out of possession today. Because if you've got a centre-back who prefers to have the ball in front of him, you can't really play with that sort of intense high press that Sydney likes. So that could be an interesting one. And of course, Max Burgess comes in as well, which I know Paletti was quite happy about in the group chat. But yeah, no, interesting addition there. And I guess we'll just see what he's got to offer. It's, the biggest game of the season for Sydney now. They've got to get a goal to stay in this. And, he's going to be one of those players that Sydney will be looking towards to try and get that goal.
All right, we're seeing the teams walk out here. We are moments away from kickoff. What do you think is going to happen, Ross? Sydney are down. They are chasing the game. They have to improve the margin by at least 1 to get themselves back into it. Do you see them coming away with anything away at Industry Group tonight?
The victory fan in me says yes, just because I want a home final. But I feel like Central Coast keep the lead, and I think they score as well. I think they win both legs. It'll be interesting. I think Sydney, as Jacob said, come out all firing, but I think Central Coast is just a better team. As simple as that. So I think they'll just outplay them.
Yeah, Jacob, I find it very hard to see Sydney overcoming this, especially with all their outs. No Joe Lolly, who are the red cards? I'm forgetting. Corey Holman, Jack Rodwell.
Yeah.
And they lost Girdwood Reich as well through injury. So that's a lot of, starting players to catch up on. And, we're going to see more of that experiment with Courtney Perkins as well, which has been interesting to watch at the very least. But I'm on the Mariners. I think they get it done at home tonight.
Yeah, easily. With the goal advantage already, at home, they've been the best team all season long, and they showed in the first leg as well that they're more than capable of countering whatever Sydney throw at them. So, with the sort of rigid positional play that they've had this season, but then, throwing in the likes of Nisbet and Docker, who have that freedom to move around a little bit more, they've been, more than a handful for every team in the league. And I don't see that changing tonight.
Yeah, I think it'll be a war of attrition early. They'll definitely look to withstand Sydney early in the game, but I think Mariners by 3 goals on the Knights is my tip. I think they're going to drive it home late, and there's going to be some good celebrations there as well. The sauce bottles will be shaking.
Well, I read that they don't have them up because of wind or something.
Oh, they're taking them down again.
I think so.
No.
That's what someone on Reddit said. So I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt, I guess. But
Sauce bottles such integral to the vibe at Central Coast.
Yeah,
it's tragic. All right, we're minutes away. 7:45 from kickoff. Who we got on the call? Simon Hill and someone?
That's a great question. I don't know. I've got the comms muted so I can hear you.
Same,
We're in the middle of an ad break.
It looks like 3 Central Coast players have bleached hair. I don't know what that means, but interesting.
Mark Jackson is manager of the Central Coast, of course, in his first season, chasing down the treble.
It's been a thing for first-year coaches, hasn't it? Because
Yeah,
obviously Giancarlo Italiano, rookie as well. So maybe that's the new thing we're going to see in the A-League, is just a new coach at every club every season to try and capture that magic again.
Just get a new manager here.
Yeah.
see the referee, Ali Reza Fagani, on the whistle for this one. You'd imagine it would probably be Alex King in the middle next week, reading the vibe of the appointments. But here we go. We are underway. Second last game of the A-League season.
Crazy, it's gone so quickly.
It really has. We need it longer, right? Longer season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, last season was helped. Well, not helped, but it was lengthened by having that, international break in December. That
Yes.
slowed things down, and then it all kicked back off again afterwards, for many different reasons. But that sort of made the season feel a bit longer. Whereas this season, it's just been, plain sailing in terms of fixtures, and it's felt a bit shorter.
Of course, sold out at Sky Stadium, sold out at Industry Group this weekend. Decent travelling support as well for Sydney FC, as you'd expect with the local rivalry. I'm sure we can get Will's opinion later in the week on the podcast, but I'm sure it's going to be a brilliant atmosphere again, because the return leg against Adelaide last year was one of those all-time kind of club occasions as well. I'm sure this will be no different. Yeah,
I mean, a chance to do one over, a local, I suppose, rival in Sydney probably means a lot more than over an Adelaide team that couldn't defend to save their lives.
Taking the ball away from Jacob Farrell early.
That's the one area of Farrell's game that I think could really do with some improving, is his decisions on the ball. Obviously, we know his qualities as a defensive player, and we also know that he can draw fouls quite well. But when he's, not getting that attention, it's, picking that pass that he's not struggled with, but he's perhaps not been quite as effective with as you'd like to see.
You know what? One of the key matchups that I'm looking forward tonight is Jacob Farrell versus Alireza Fagani, because he's going to go down. He's going to be looking for the fouls. But Alireza's going to go, no.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see, because in the in that first game, the Wellington game we just had, Daniel Elder let a lot go quite early on. It was quite physical early. So I wonder if Fagani will be the same, because he does tend to do that. He does tend to referee in that way.
Of course, hello as well to everyone watching, tuning in to the live stream. We've got about 50 people in here at the moment. Thank you all very much for joining us. Get in the comment section. Let us know. What are you expecting from this game? Who's going to win? Is Sydney going to claw it back, or will Central Coast hold on? I would be surprised if we have too many Central Coast fans. I'm sure they're at the ground.
They should be.
They should be at the ground. But it's sold out. Maybe they didn't get a ticket. Maybe we're your plan B. We're okay with that. You're more than welcome to come in. You're right. There are a few bleached hairs. Theo Harris in there.
It's an interesting choice of, usually you'd look at the opposite. You'd look at Ryan Grant, for instance, for an interesting haircut, but he's just gone with the buzz cut, and it's the Mariners that are going all crazy with it. So,
G'day, Chris. How you going? Good to have you in, my friends. Who is the other one? Was it Docker with the bleached hair as well? Oh, it's Alu Kuo.
There's someone on the bench
Oh my
as well.
God.
Someone on the bench has bleached as well from Central.
They must have.
There's something going on in the change room. Yeah.
Do you reckon perhaps the worst performers of the Werewolf game during the week had to bleach their hair for the second leg of the semi-final?
Yeah, they lost. They lost the social deception stuff they like to play in the change room, so they had to bleach their hair.
So because I heard the maths guys talking about this as well. So for those who didn't hear, Josh Nisbet last week in the post-game interview was trying to tell the commentary team about a game that the Coasties play on away days called Werewolf, and he tried to liken it to Mafia, which is a bit more of a popular version. And you kind of have, your mafia, like two people who are the mafia in like a group of 12 to 15 or something, and then you have the townspeople, and it might be like a signal, like a tap in the shoulder, or you look at them and you click a gun or something, and then that person's dead, and the mafia have to do it all discreetly, and then all the townspeople get a chance to vote and like vote out the mafia. So it's, as Jacob said, it's a social deception kind of game, and I'm sure Werewolf is a spin on that. But apparently that's how they've been spending their time. They're just walking through Kazakhstan for a couple of days playing Werewolf. That's what
like
they're doing.
This idea of trying to get everybody on the same wavelength, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. If you can't pick out what your teammates are doing, then you need to work on that or something. But it is interesting that that's what they spend their time doing. It's not you think with the likes of Mark Jackson at the helm that they'd be watching film back and analyze. Nah, they're just having a bit of fun, and I think that's great because it does build that community within the club and that bond between players.
Absolutely, good that all getting along. I mean, you would get pretty familiar with your teammates given how far they've travelled this year.
Yeah. Sydney playing a lot of one-touch football at the moment, which is quite interesting because they like to use a lot of wing play typically. But obviously with the loss of Joe Lolly, that's going to be a huge change in how they're going to look to play, relying instead on, like Robbie Mack or somebody out wide, perhaps Courtney Perkins coming into that role as well. But yeah, looking to just play a little bit quicker and slightly less direct.
Oh.
Is Ross ahead of me or behind me?
Ahead.
Was that the Vukovic save or was it something else?
No, after.
They're playing out from the back. Okay, yeah, I just saw it.
I think I'm miles ahead, yeah.
If you maybe just want to pause for 10 seconds so we get the reactions on cue,
so
totally up to you.
Back with you, Ross.
I will pause.
Ross can be the play-by-play and we're the colour.
How do I pause this? It's live today.
The quirks of doing this remote, but it's good fun.
Yeah. I mean,
that's not a penalty.
It's no.
6 of 1. The finger wiggle straight away from Fagani.
It's one of those ones where it's like he knew that he wasn't going to get to the ball, so the moment that he could feel contact, he was going to go down.
You wouldn't give a soft penalty in a semi-final second leg, would you?
To be fair, there was one in the first half where I believe it was Kryev was pulled down by the collar by Roderick Miranda.
I did hear about that. I didn't see it.
To be honest, I don't think it was a penalty.
Okay.
He was able to get the shot off, and it wouldn't have helped the accuracy of the shot, but it didn't, deny a goal scoring opportunity or anything like that. So
okay.
Well, neither did Azani's handball, but went up for a throw.
Well, technically handball in the box doesn't need to be denied a goal scoring opportunity, but the laws of the game are a fickle thing. And
I'm trying to get onto Paletti because they can occasionally come with a pretty quick response from FA about this kinds of things. So I wonder if we can get an official word for you.
They did post something, I think, in the group chat.
They did?
Not long after it had happened.
I'm very much looking forward to that explanation from Football Australia because, I mean, I know Robbie and Andy were confused as well on comms, but that goes against everything I thought I knew about handball law.
And then there was another call after, weren't they? What were they checking for that?
Oh, for encroachment as well. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. This is the...
Hold on, make sure your camera isn't isn't blocked by your phone.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Ooh, that's a good chance.
This is what Paletti put in. They said after the on-field review, the ref found that the defender's arm was extended above the body, making him unnaturally bigger. The ball hits the arm after deflection off the body, with the ball traveling in the same direction. Those factors make it a punishable offence.
Oh, so are they saying that the deflection off the body was not significant enough to alter the direction of the ball?
I think so.
But
But
I
that's-
get it.
run
I get
up
it.
him?
But
that's
I get
just-
it. But it's
That's
a
just
bit.
adding
yeah.
another layer of things that the referee has to look for in a handball.
Honestly, you may as well say at this point, if it just hits a hand in the box, it's a penalty. At least
Yeah.
everyone would understand that.
Yeah, exactly. No matter what, I just
Well, I mean, Ross, you're the player here. So what's your thoughts on the handball rule
I'm
in
shocked
practice?
I'm shocked it was called, to be honest, because again, like it's. I understand the point of making himself bigger to defend in the way, etc. But if it's bounced off his body and then it's deflected onto his hand, I don't know.
But
If you can call
also,
that.
the term of unnaturally bigger, if you're
Yeah,
going to lunge out your left foot like that, your hand goes up for
Your hand
balance. That's
goes
just
up,
what
exactly.
it does.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's going to be, they're going to change the rule somehow in the next couple of years. They have to.
No, they'll just do something else to make people angry. They'll implement Wenger's offside idea,
Yeah,
which
That's
isn't
not totally
it's
bad.
not gonna help.
it's not the worst idea in the world.
Yeah.
But,
Well, that's got nothing really to do with the actual officiating of it, right? It's more give the benefit of the doubt to the attacker, a few more chances in behind, make it more
Exactly.
attacking.
Well, yes, but all it does is it doesn't shift the idea of you being offside by millimeters, because it's still there. It's just where that
Just a different line,
millimeter
yeah.
comes from. Yeah, so it's like yeah, and it's I think personally it's more difficult to spot an offside. Like in that fashion, like they
Oh,
have
you
to be
reckon?
completely past. Like there has to be daylight completely between them, than it is to just see a goal scoring part of the body beyond the last defender. I think that's easier to spot than the other
Yeah,
way
but then
around.
if we don't know the handball rule, we don't know what part of the body we can score and we can't score with. So his whole arm is off or his elbow. Like
It's from the bottom of the shirt sleeve.
Well, what about the Wengerism of free kicks for throw-ins in your defensive half? Have you seen that as well?
Oh, here comes
Oh,
Sydney.
Fabio!
Oh,
Oh, good save, Vuka.
clutch save by Vukovic. But that was Farrell again, just sort of tripping over himself. That was not ideal from him. And then Gomez, who has made a habit of not finishing chances this season, probably his biggest criticism, finds himself in really good, positions a lot of the time and just can't get the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah.
And just another one to add to the tally there, but it was very well done by Vukovic. Came out early, made himself big. It's what we've come to expect from him as well.
2 shots on target for Sydney to 0 for the Central Coast Mariners.
It's interesting. They've not been able to get much going, in terms of when they're in possession, the Mariners. It's looking a little bit disjointed. They're trying to play up the wings with the likes of getting the likes of Mikael Docker on the ball, but they're just sort of hitting a brick wall almost every time they get the ball out wide. And they're just funneled into these areas by Sydney where they have no option but to just recycle possession. So, that's probably a deliberate attempt by Sydney to ensure that their wingers and their wide players are doing as much defensively as possible to keep the Mariners from, exploiting the space out wide that they like to do.
They've had a lot of possession so far in this game as well, haven't they?
Yeah. Yeah, it's at 66% so far.
You got a stats page up to you?
I do have a stats page.
Actually, that would be good to have. That's a great idea.
If I'm going to talk about what's going on, I want to make sure it's correct.
Fair enough.
So I don't want to be like, I think Sydney have been statistically the better team, and it's like they're losing in every stat. Like, no, let's make sure it's correct.
I think Sydney's got 60% possession. It makes up a random stat. Yeah. I can't pause my TV, so I'm just going to be ahead and then delay my reactions.
What do you mean you can't delay your
Delay your
reaction?
reaction.
Why can't you pause it?
There's no pause button on my remote.
Sure, if you're on Paramount Plus though, you
I'm
just
on
click
10.
the middle
Hey,
one.
I'm on 10. I'm on 10.
Oh,
Yeah, that would probably be why then.
fair enough.
I mean, if I was...
Who would have thought
smart
I'd be
about
pitching
it.
for someone to get onto Paramount
To
Plus?
Paramount.
If I could
Well, I
be
mean,
smart about
they
it,
were
I'll
having
just...
some issues with the broadcast in the Wellington game as well. There was
Yeah,
Were
it
they?
just
just
stopped. You went black half the time.
yeah, it just would go to black for just 10 seconds. Like the comms would still be going, but the picture was completely black and there was no like crowd noise or anything. And then there was the whole debacle with after the handball was given, Daniel Elder did the explanation of what it was, and all that we could hear was him blowing the whistle to say I've made a decision, and then blow the whistle to give the penalty. There was nothing. Didn't hear a word that he said.
Okay.
Oh, Caltech, go for a run, mate.
Now I'm behind.
I do think that midfield area is going to be ripe for the Mariners to sort of look to probe a little bit, because the way that Sydney is sort of setting up here, you've got your double pivot of Bratton and Caceres, but it's very flexible in front of them. There's nobody that's going to necessarily drop in to create a midfield block or anything like that. And what that means is there's probably going to be more space than the Mariners, I think, at this point realize. And we just saw it with that Caltech run as Qual.
Oh,
That's a great ball in from Docker. Qual ran out of room.
Turned the wrong way, I think.
Oh,
there, didn't
great
he?
challenge.
Pair
Oh,
of good
great
challenges.
challenge.
Oh my
The blondies combined. Theo Harris.
Some good
Oh,
footwork.
wow.
Oh, skips
He's through
inside.
it. Oh, great save.
Good
Oh.
block. That's good. That's good from Qual and Docker. Not Docker. Theo Harris there.
I think they've got to try and keep Sydney on the back foot here, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because Sydney will be searching for a goal. So the quicker that they can, get that counter press going and win the ball back in those, that sort of central or attacking third, rather than sitting back and letting Sydney sort of attack towards them, I think that's going to serve Mariners very, very well here. We've seen the Mariners do a couple different things in regards to pressing this season. Sort of early on with Mark Jackson, he was just sort of finding his feet. Then he adopted this sort of trigger press, especially with the wingers. But now since Mikael Docker's come into that right wing role, we've seen it change again into more sort of, they'll sit back out of possession, but they'll have an intense counter press. So, they've got that flexibility to play a few different sort of shapes and systems out of possession. And yeah, so far, I think that counter press is going to serve them incredibly well, because you've got to keep Sydney guessing, and you've got to keep them, like I said, on the back foot, because they need a goal and they're going to look for it any way that they can. So the quicker that you can win the ball back, the better.
Luke Bratton looks like he's in a little bit of trouble here. Oh, it's Albo.
Albo's there.
The
Fresh
PM's
off.
turned up to the football.
Yeah, fresh off evicting his tenant.
I have some breaking news for you.
Oh,
From Philip Rollo out of the Wellington Phoenix, Giancarlo Italiano has confirmed that was Oscar Zavada's final game for the football club.
wow.
Zavada will be leaving the Wellington Phoenix. It was rumoured for a while. This is the thought that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
But he hasn't had the game time and the complete success this season to warrant potentially a massive move. My first thought after reading that is that there is another particularly big A-League club that is getting rid of a particularly well-historied striker in Melbourne City. And someone like Zavada, if he's fit and can maintain that fitness, I'm sure the recently signed on Aurelio Vidmar would have no qualms with introducing Oscar Zavada into his team.
We saw his quality with that goal in the 99th minute as well. I mean, yeah, he was close to goal. Izzo was never going to get it if he got a bit of a body on it, but he still had to direct it goalwards. from the volley, basically unsighted almost, because it's dropping down from almost sort of behind him to in front of him. He just stuck a leg out, and it was actually really well hit too, pretty powerful, that even if Izzo had done something to try and get it, there was no hope. But yeah, like you said, just not had that availability this season. What's the old saying, is the best ability is availability. And
Yes.
that's been the big story for Zavada's season, is that we saw last season how good he can be, and then this season, well, he's missed a lot, and the Phoenix were perfectly fine without him for large parts of it. So you're right, though, that is it going to be City that could be there? There's another pretty solid striker out there.
If it's going to be an A-League club, I think it has to be City.
I think so. They're the most likely to sign him. Well, or to sign a striker, to be honest, of all the A-League clubs. I know Adelaide are going to probably look to get one, but I don't think they'd be in the market for Oscar Zavada after dropping Hiroshi Ibisuki.
Yeah. And the other thing with City is they've released Vicente Fernandez, they've released Leon Natel, they've released Marin Jakalic as well. So the visa spots are open.
Yeah.
They've got lots of space to work with as well.
I don't think City fans would have been too unhappy with any of those players not sticking around, to be honest. Like, you'd see flashes of stuff, I think, especially from Leon Natel was
late in the season, yeah.
Really,
and Jakalic was probably good early, but then fell off.
Yeah. But it's that, again, consistency. It feels like a lot of players so far this season have lacked consistency. And when McLaren isn't playing or isn't scoring, and you're looking for somebody else to come up with the goals, neither of Natel or Jakalic could really manage that. And Fernandez just never really got much game time anyway. I think he was just on loan from Chile, so
yep.
Yeah, so he'll just be heading back to his parent club.
Wait, sorry. No, I think he was permanent, actually.
Was he a permanent?
I think he was. Because I'm pretty sure I wrote about it for Sanctum when the deal got done, and I think he was permanent.
Right. Okay, that's interesting.
But yeah, obviously did not impress. I am also seeing another A-League hub alert, a report from ftbl.com.au saying that Brisbane Roar are set to sign Ben Halloran and Hiroshi Ibisuki and Ben Warland.
Yeah.
Now, we do have whispers, nothing to confirm, but us at A-Leagues of our own believe that Brisbane Roar is not the destination for Hiroshi Ibisuki. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And then this report is also saying that Nikola Milejuznic will go the other way from Brisbane to Adelaide. That's Jacob. That's one that you had pegged in, didn't he?
Yeah. We've been hearing sort of talks in terms of sort of Adelaide and Brisbane swapping players for a little while now, sort of since the back end of the season, when everybody was sort of looking at who's going to be off contract and stuff like that. And Halloran and Warland going over there. Warland's a surprising one because he really hasn't performed very well in his second stint for Adelaide. And this is a Brisbane team that's going to be looking to rejuvenate their defence. And so bringing in the centre-back at the heart of one of the worst defences in the league last season is an interesting move. Ben Halloran he's a strange case, because not as a person, like as a footballer, because he was so good for Adelaide United in his first stint. He went for a season to Korea, came back, and just has looked almost sort of a shell of the player that he was. Statistically, he had an all right season. I think 6 goals, 6 assists. But if you look sort of deeper into it, a lot of those came in clumps. So I think he had 3 assists for the Hiroshi Ibisuki hat trick, for instance. That's half your stuff in one game. So yeah, he fell out of favour towards the end of the season, wasn't getting minutes. We were playing Zach Clough out wide rather than Ben Halloran. So yeah, and he's played for Brisbane before as well, so the links are there. So him sort of going home, and then Nikola Miluznic coming back to Adelaide, who sort of like Ben Halloran, he was all right at Adelaide in that first stint. He's left, he's gone to Brisbane ways, and from what I've been told by Brisbane fans, not been fantastic, and hasn't had the return that he sort of warrants. He's also, his big thing was always how quick he was. And we've seen with Halloran that that was very.
Yeah, it's a
nasty
rough challenge by
there.
Theo Harris on Luke Bratton, who's already struggled so far this game.
Yep.
And he's taken a few knocks the last couple of weeks as well, hasn't he?
It's because he's the sort of player that just gets into it. He spots a loose ball and just throws himself at it. So it's a good quality to have for sort of a ball winning midfielder, but it does put them at risk of things like that where you get caught. And he seems to be holding a lot higher up his leg than he was hit. So I don't know if
he looks like in serious pain here.
Yeah, I don't know if this is maybe like compounding the pair of knocks that he's had. But what was I talking about? Nikola Miluznic. His big thing is his pace. And Halloran was kind of similar in a way. And as Halloran got older and older, he sort of started to lose that a little bit and lost a bit of what made him so special. So I'm wondering if maybe something similar might happen with Miluznic, but it's not a massively inspiring signing considering the holes that Adelaide do have in their squad at the moment and the need to sign basically an entire first 11. But, you've got to start somewhere, I guess.
Bulldogs Canterbury says, go Sydney FC. They're going to have to chase one back here. Yeah, that looks dodgy. Yeah. G'day, he says hi guys as well. G'day Bulldogs. Yes, hello as well to everyone who may have joined in the last 20 minutes or so as this game has got underway. We're very glad to have you here. A little tip, if you are watching on Twitter, which I know most people are, would be great for you to head over to YouTube. Number one, because it's a better visual experience for you. We've got a bit of a layout that's a bit more pleasing. And it also helps our viewer hours statistic, which is very handy to get up on YouTube.
Makes us look good.
It makes us look good. It gets us closer to that monetization mark as well. So if you can watch on YouTube, that'd be great. But we are glad to have you either way. It's a little bit of a break in proceedings. We get a wide shot of the ground. Oh, man, this stadium is beautiful, isn't it? The water on the side.
That's great.
You talk about a stadium that doesn't have a stand behind one end of the goal, and you think, what's going on there? But the way they set it up in Gosford, it's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I've got to go do an away day there.
I do as well. Point.
Yeah, looks awesome. I tell you what, the Sydney fans have turned up en masse as well. Like that's a really good turnout for them.
Oh yeah.
And I haven't got the sound on, so I don't know if they've been making a lot of noise, but it looks like they've been making a lot of noise.
It looks like it. Definitely does.
Visually impressive.
Yeah, you would expect a good Sydney turnout here. They've been the most attended team all season by a fair margin. As the set piece comes in here, nothing really doing. And, when you get big games like this in finals and stuff and they're just your crosstown rivals, it's a great opportunity. So it's good to see them there. We don't get a whole lot of that in the A-League in terms of opposite fan groups going at each other, apart from really the Sydney derby now these days.
Yeah.
And, F3 get a little bit of travelling support as well. The Melbourne derby has died down a little bit, I would argue, in the last few years.
Original rivalry is still pretty strong.
Original rivalry is still strong, yep, 100%.
Oh. Well.
Of course, there was also an original Melbourne derby played last night in NPL Victoria. South Melbourne getting up 1-0 over Melbourne Knights. And there was another game. We had listeners of the podcast will know that we had Neil Simons on Friday to talk about. Pardon me. Oh, jeez.
Good time for your voice to go.
Yeah, I know. Good time to talk about NPL Victoria and the NST. And Neil was commentating a game between Avondale and Dandenong City, and it was 0-0, and Avondale's George Mells scored in the 97th minute, I think it was, to nick a 1-0 win. And credit to Neil, in case he's watching, because it was a great call. The atmosphere was insane, and it was such a big moment, and he captured it very well. So good on Neil. But yeah, happened to, a few Friday nights free now that the A-League Friday night games have stopped. So tuning into some NPL, which I'm very excited for. Very excited to throw myself into that in the off-season as well, as we gear up for the NST starting next year. Very exciting times.
And if anyone's in Victoria, Tuesday's Preston Lions versus South Melbourne in the Australian Cup.
Yes.
That'll be a very good game to tune into or go to.
Yeah, I'm going to do my absolute best to get there on Tuesday night. Neil pitched me on it. And I think if my hockey coach is listening, close your ears because I might be ditching off. But
he's asked me to rock up as well, but I'm at Tottenham open training session, so we'll see what happens.
Oh, you're gonna. Well, here's a thing for you. So, South Melbourne, we know is the birthplace of Ange Postecoglou in terms of coaching prowess. And as you say, Ross, Tottenham have an open training session at Amy Park. So Neil's suggestion is that, you get a limousine or something, you get the police escort, you drive him up to Preston Lions, and then he'll get there around halftime or something. He can go in, maybe just tap the current South Melbourne coach on the shoulder and say, "Don't worry, I got this one, mate." Mate. And goes in and gives a rousing speech and gets South up. But even if just to have him as an appearance, that would be pretty cool.
It'd be nice to see him come down. His son plays for. He used to play for North Geelong Warriors. I don't know if he still does.
I actually I went to high school with one of Postecoglou's sons.
Well, there we go. Get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
I won't claim him to know him very well at all, but we were in the same year in high school.
That's like me and Lockie Brook, to be fair. So same year. Didn't have anything to do with him, but I claim it.
Well, talking All-Stars, let's play the game. So we know that the provisional team was released, but a number of spots were held back just to wait and see who would lose these semi-finals and would be available. So obviously Wellington players are now up for grabs. Who are we anticipating will sneak their way in? So we got 14 players were already selected. I believe the women's squad was 23.
I think so.
So
yeah.
maybe we're saying 9 players from the 2 losing teams in these semi-finals. So you got 4 or 5 Wellington players. Who are we going for? Surely Alex Paulson is one.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the easiest decision.
Yeah.
Alex Paulson. Let's go. Rufer, absolutely.
I agree, yeah.
And then obviously you saw the PFA team of the season was Sutton and Payne got in as well. But I'd probably have Barbarousis ahead of those two in terms of priority additions.
And for like an all-star team too.
Yeah, all-star team.
There are only 3 defenders called up.
So far.
Right
yep.
now,
Okay, so we need a few defenders then.
And there's 5 forwards.
Who are the current defenders that have been picked?
Truen, Marcelo, and Garuscio.
Kai Truen. Okay. So we need a right back. So
Yeah,
Tim Payne.
So Tim Payne.
And we've got 1 goalkeeper called up. So you'd say Paulson would.
Yeah. I mean, Paulson's the best keeper in the league, so...
Yeah.
I mean, we need 2 keepers, right? So I'm assuming
Yeah.
it's the losing keeper of both these teams.
Yeah, I assume so.
Or maybe they've got a reserve to say if Paulson doesn't get it, then we've got Macklin Freak or something.
Yeah.
He was an underrated keeper, I reckon. I think he signed an extra 2 years, I think, at Brisbane Roar.
Mm-hmm.
Very good with his feet.
He is.
And an athletic shot stopper as well. I had a little bit of a feeling that maybe Melbourne City might have tried to pick him up with Jamie Young getting on. So obviously that didn't happen, and he's staying at Brisbane Roar. But yeah, I thought they might have
We've
looked
just
into
had
him.
Noob Gamer on YouTube ask which team we think is going to win.
Ooh.
So I'm
The most
hoping
concerning
for
thing
Sydney
about that
by
is I didn't see that comment. So
You're slack, Lockie.
well, I've got my on Streamlabs. I've got the chat window, but apparently I'm just not getting it.
Yeah. Noob Gamer, you're invisible to Lockie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Noob Gamer.
It's alright, I got you, mate. Don't worry.
Oh, it's just come through. Maybe I'm on a bit of a delay. That's what it is.
Ross is ahead of you with the YouTube comments as
I'm
well.
on top chat right
You're ahead of
now.
everything, mate. Why don't
Yeah.
you just come back in 20 minutes and then?
I've got I've gone onto Paramount so I can be with you guys.
Well, if you're so far ahead of us, Ross, then can you tell us who's going to win the game? That's the question that's been asked.
I think Central Coast, but I want Sydney. I want a home final.
See, my thoughts coming into this, Jacob, were very similar to last week. That if Sydney were like their best window to score and try getting ahead in this game was going to be early, and it was the same last week, and they actually did get that goal last week, but it wasn't even enough. And now they're chasing the game. They haven't managed to score early. The effectiveness of that press will wear off as the game continues. The longer it stays 0-0 for me, the more it plays into the Mariners' hands.
And I think it's like I mentioned a little while back, where the Mariners have really sort of figured out they can't let Sydney have the ball early on because that's where they're most threatening. And so they use that counter press really well. And I mean, Sydney had a lot of possession for a while, but they didn't really do much with it, which I think the Mariners will be more than pleased with. Um, the thing with Sydney is that it's very much hit or miss the way that they play football because they're so open. It can be really, really good, like we saw in the Sydney Derby, where they absolutely crush the Wanderers, or it can be a case of they are so vulnerable at the back that they just get overrun and they can't even hold on to leads or anything like that. So I did think that this style of play would suit finals football, where the two teams might be a bit nervy, and just being able to just be on the front foot early on would be an advantage. But like you mentioned, Lockie, they didn't score early, and that's going to be their best chance for it now. And we haven't seen a huge lot from Sydney in terms of slow, patient play, which I think they're going to have to try and do a little bit of today. So it'll be interesting to see how they manage that, what changes, if any, Tale makes as the game wears on to try and bring players into the game a little bit. But yeah, so far a stalemate, and Mariners fans will be pretty happy because they haven't been massively threatened. There was that Fabio chance early on and a good save from Vukovic, but since then, really not a lot going on.
What do you make, Jacob? Because we haven't had you on the men's podcast in a couple of weeks, I think. What do you make of this whole Courtney Perkins thing, pushing him higher up the field?
Yeah, I think it's. Oh, I don't know. It's a tough one because we've seen the effectiveness of fullbacks deployed higher up the pitch this season. Mikhail Doko, who's playing in this game, Tim Payne has done that all season long. We've seen to an extent, Adelaide do that with their fullbacks. They didn't play them not as fullbacks, but they got them involved in attacking phases of play very early on. It's sort of this trend now, I think, of coaches just going, right, players have to be versatile. They have to be able to play multiple roles. I think I prefer Courtney Perkins from deep, slightly deeper. The way that he creates runs from deeper areas is much more threatening than when he's further up the pitch, because when you're further up the pitch, you're immediately going to draw a marker, right? Like somebody's going to come across to mark you straight away. Whereas when you've got that little bit extra space, you're coming in from a bit deeper, players are going to have their backs to you, sort of thing, and you can arrive into the box late. You can create chances late, get on the ball later and further into the attacking third before you're then picked up. It's a little snapshot there from Caceres.
Yeah, stinging the hands of Vuka.
But I don't know if it's this attempt to, like I said, players having to be versatile nowadays. I mean, really only goalkeepers or like your number 9 are the ones that are going to play in that spot every week.
Yeah.
Coaches like to have players that can play in multiple positions, and with the way that Sydney play as well, it does kind of make sense to an extent, having a defensive player higher up the pitch, especially with a high press.
What's happening here? Mikhail Docker was not happy about
being told to leave the pitch,
the no foul call. And I was going to say there, I'm glad that that's not a foul. I think the game is better when that is not a foul. And he's complaining. He was asking for someone to put the ball out. It's not a foul.
I mean, the first contact isn't a foul. He's then got a head injury from clashing with Bratton.
Ooh. Has Mark Jackson just picked up a yellow card there, perhaps? I saw the yellow flashing out there somewhere.
Yep, he's got a
right.
blood nose.
Did he hit the deck? Did he?
No,
Docker's got a blood nose, yeah. Oh, Kale. Here's his shirt. Interesting.
All right, play resumes. Sportingly thrown out for a goal kick. Oh, he got the boot from Bratton. Okay.
Yeah.
Fagani must not have spotted it, because otherwise the play would have stopped straight away.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what Mark Jackson got the yellow for.
Yeah.
But he's been told, yeah, he's
Literally,
been told to leave because he's bleeding.
He's bleeding, and you've just kept playing.
Fair enough. I wonder how many yellow cards he's on. Wouldn't want to get suspended for the grand final.
The final.
I did see someone asked Jurgen Klopp in an interview the other day, because Jurgen's on 2 for the season, and I believe in the Premier League if you get the 3rd, it's a suspension. So
Yeah.
someone asked him before the second last game, it's like, well, are you aware that you're on 2 yellows, you can't get another one? Are you worried about it? He's like, oh, yeah, I don't have to be there, but it would be good to be on the touchline for the final game. Of course, massive weekend in the Premier League coming up. Arsenal and Man City on the final day. Man City obviously with the advantage. Are they home or away to West Ham?
They're home.
Oh,
They're
God,
home, of
okay.
course.
Yeah.
I
mean, West Ham get money technically if Rice wins the league. So.
Oh, okay. So there are some
Yeah,
motivation.
like,
There's an
get-
incentive there.
I think they get 20 million from that, but then they get 25 for winning the league, so like, it doesn't matter anyway.
Storm
Oh,
Brews. What is this yellow card for? I'm assuming it's more talk. Let's have a
There's two
Oh,
balls
there's
on the
another ball
pitch.
on the field.
And so he's kicked it into the.
He's kicked it into the play.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, fair
that's
enough.
stupid.
Cheeky.
mean,
I don't know
if-
why players bother trying to test him now. They know who he is. They know what he does.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Trying to lull Sydney into a false sense of security or something. Think, oh, look at us, we're all on yellows. Oh no, and then actually just dominate anyway.
I'm very proud of us for just glossing over the yellow card for kicking the ball away.
Yeah.
It's obviously, look, referring to MacArthur, of course, it's a very serious topic and we will talk about it on the podcast. But today is a happy day. It's the semi-finals. We're focusing on the good stuff.
2 sellouts. Hopefully 2 good games.
Absolutely. Paletti says no player is able to accumulate enough yellow cards in the A-League's final series under the A-League's disciplinary regulations to be suspended. Oh, okay. So is there some kind of refresh then? Is that what you're saying? That's
Must be.
you can get as many yellows as you want in the finals.
It's an interesting approach.
Well, Mashash got a 2-game suspension, didn't he? So it was quite, for a double yellow, it was a bit confusing.
No, that was a red card.
Well, he got 2 yellows, didn't he?
No, he kicked out and got a straight red.
Straight
mate.
red.
It's harsh.
You try to call yourself a victory fan as well.
It was great.
and
pizza, mate. I had
2
other things to
yellows
worry
is a
about.
red card, which has its own suspension anyway. This is getting
Yeah.
yellows in different games. So you're 0 for 2 on that count.
Yeah.
At least it's not his predictions this week, so he's not.
Shall we go? Let's bring up the predictions. I
Let's
forgot
My
do
what
it.
they
prediction
were.
was victory win, so I'll take it.
Okay, well, you got it, but they had to go through extra time. Oh no, I haven't pinned it onto the Google Doc. I'll be able to find it in the archive. Give me a second.
That's unacceptable.
What episode would it have been?
The
96?
Yeah,
yeah, whatever the semi-final review.
By the way,
was.
this has worked out perfectly, but our 100th episode is going to be the grand final review,
How
which
good.
is
Wow.
perfect. Centenary of A-Leagues of our own episodes this year, finishing on the A-League Men's Grand Finals. And of course, if you are listening and you're a regular listener of the pod, we're going to keep going through the off-season. We've got some Euros that we're going to cover in the Copa America as, through an Australian lens as much as possible. We've got MPL still kicking on. We've got Matildas, Socceroos will be playing. So there's plenty of football in the off-season, and we're going to bring it all to you. Here we go. Chris said the Knicks won't lose in 90, which they didn't.
That's not wrong. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, hold on. Hold on.
Well, 'cause
In
it's
90
sort of
they
In the
lost.
90th
Yeah.
minute, they were 1-0 down. It was the 99th minute. I think I copy and pasted that directly from our group chat. We know we're very literal with this game. I'm depending on how it shakes out, I might get a bit picky on that one. Paletti said 50,000+ fans and announced a sellouts. Well, that was always going to happen. Not giving them much credit, especially after they tried to rob me of 3 votes last week. I need to fight back against the alliance of Paletti and Jacob.
We're coming for you, Lucky.
Christian, Sydney to take the Mariners to extra time. Oh, okay. Well, that one's still in play, obviously. As we're approaching stoppage time. Jacob said both Paulson and Izzo to save a penalty. You got 1 out of 2.
I thought that was going to be guaranteed. I was like, it's definitely there's going to be 2 penalties. I was like, if it doesn't go to penalty shootout, there will still be 2 penalties in the game.
To be fair, it's very impressive that you got half of it without a shootout.
That's true.
It's very
I said the Knicks would. Oh, I haven't checked this yet. I said that the Knicks would have at least 5 shots on target.
They
had to have, right?
They must have.
Yeah.
Let me go check the stats.
They had 3 in the first half, so I think so.
I see 27 total shots. Why do I not have a shots on target? 7 shots on target. Let's go. We're in it. Surely that's at least a point to extend the lead. Frost said victory to win. Got that.
I said
Will said Costa and Docker to score / assist. Costa got the assist for Zavada, right?
Costa got the assist for Zavada.
It was the header. Okay, so Will's halfway there as well. This is a good week.
That's a great prediction.
That's a good prediction.
That's a very good prediction.
Sydney coming hard here. Courtney Perkins adventuring forward. Hit the corner flag. Oh.
I love how that's like the purpose of the corner flag. It's just for that one small chance that the ball rolls towards it and it needs to go out one way or the other. Like that's brilliant. I love that. Like we need a solution here.
If corner flags don't exist, then Timmy Cahill is 80% of the player that he's known.
Yeah.
Wait, so help me out here. I'm on FootMob.
Mm-hmm.
Wellington had 27 shots, 7 on target, 10 off target. Does that mean like 10 blocks as well, potentially?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 10 block shots.
Yeah,
I should just, read down one stat and I'd answer my own question. 2.5 XG, though, for Wellington.
Yeah, they had
of course, the penalty.
Yeah, they had a really good 90, though, as well. There was a cry of header early in that second half.
Yeah,
at the back stick, completely open that I don't know how he missed it, to be honest. Like that should be in the back of the net. And that's what I was saying in the pre-game was, there were chances for both teams that they'll look back on and go, for victory, they'll go, we could have made our lives so much easier if we converted these chances. And
what was victory's XG as well?
Not anywhere near as
1.6.
Nowhere near, 1.6. Well, yeah, Economidis' goal was from the line.
The big one was there was a Fornaroli chance in the second half as well.
Yeah, they just kind of paddled that, right?
He nails that nine times out of 10. Like that's his bread and butter. That the cut back and he's there to just put it in the back of the net. But it wasn't this time.
Who picked up that yellow card? 17. Caceres. Okay.
Caceres, yeah.
Jacob Farrell earning a very legitimate foul there. I feel like I'm a bit harsh on Jacob Farrell.
Yeah, no, but I also think it's a case of that one. Okay, yeah, no, that's a foul every day of the week. But there are some that he obviously does his best to win.
Yeah.
But you think, are you better served trying to keep possession instead and craft something from that rather than just going down and taking the foul? I don't know. It's worked for the Mariners this season.
Oh, well done from Burgess.
But I don't think it would work everywhere.
Yeah. And look, I've said this on the podcast before. The thing I do like about Farrell is obviously he's trying to win free kicks by going down, but he's not very flamboyant about it. And if he doesn't get it, he just pops straight back up and gets back to work. So, going down works. So you can't really blame players for doing that in the environment they are, but get straight back up.
Absolutely. Caltech's very at the moment.
He's gone on a few runs from deep.
Yeah. It's like nobody wants to get near him. They know they just get bodied off the ball.
Simon Hill saying he's almost been their most creative attacking outlet.
He's not wrong. They've really struggled to progress the ball so far.
So we have Theo Harris, Storm Rue, Anthony Caceres, and Mark Jackson on yellow cards.
Keep ticking them off. Just
Well, that's a poor ball in the middle from Theo Harris.
that's what I'm talking about there. Like, what was he trying to do
Oh,
with
Nizzy.
that pass to
Oh, silky. G'day,
now
Bulldogs.
they can do it. Where they're in space, they can break. This is a bit more fluid for the Mariners, but when they're trying to play through Sydney, it's disjointed. They're passing to Sydney rather than to their own players. It's a bit all over the place.
Well, we're approaching the final moments of the first half here. It appears that it's going to end 0-0. Anyway, he's just got the whistle very close to his mouth. Apparently, Daniel McBreen removed his headset because he thought it was over too. But there it is, halftime whistle. Mariners 0, Sydney 0. We go in dead even at the break.
Yep. And a pretty uneventful half, to be perfectly honest. A bit of a come down after the excitement of the Wellington game.
Well, I think still crucially, it's a 1-goal margin in the tie, so
yeah,
everything can happen. Sydney didn't get over the top, but like I said, the Mariners' plan will be one of attrition, get through the early stages, don't get hit too hard, and the later and later in the game we'll get, Sydney will have to extend more and more.
Yeah.
And, we know how deadly the Mariners are when they get a little bit of space.
Well, we saw it in the AFC Cup, where in a couple of their ties, it was a case of they knew that the opposition were going to wear themselves down and the game would be a bit more open. I think that fixture against Abdish Attar, both legs, was kind of similar in that regard, in that, the game opened up because the Kurgs sort of overextended themselves a bit too early. And let the Mariners come back into it. Whether that's the case here, where they're just sort of biding time, or whether they're just happy to sit back and defend a little bit more, like I said, use that counter press to their advantage to try and win the ball back, or at least keep Sydney on the back foot. I don't know. And it'll be interesting to see if anybody makes any changes whatsoever going into the second half. I think Sydney could use something in the midfield. It seems like, with Bratton and Caceres, you've got two players who are very good at winning the ball back, but once they're on the ball, what are they going to do with it? And Caceres probably of the two the more progressive player, but I still think that they've been lacking something from central areas. Out wide, they've looked okay, but Courtney Perkins hasn't massively impressed so far. So yeah, I think Sydney could make a change here. I'm just looking at their bench. About who could they bring on though?
Yeah, not many.
Yeah,
Kaczarski
maybe.
Patrick Wood and Gerwood Reich, you'd have to imagine, are not full fitness.
Nah.
As we talked about their outs that they had, Lolly, Holman, Rodwell, like they're thin. They're thin. It's tricky. When you're going into the crucial point of the season, you don't have your best players. It's tough. That's just the reality of it.
But it's that's part of why finals football can throw out these results where potentially, you never know what happens, but potentially the two best teams of the season aren't in the final. Because it just takes one or two moments, things to happen, things to go one team's way and not the other, and that's the season over. So
Ross, what year is that victory kit that you've got on? I haven't been able to place it.
I think I could not tell you. Let me look it up.
I can't tell you.
That collar is very interesting. Obviously, they've had a couple of collar
it's definitely
issues.
a training shirt.
Okay. It isn't a playing shirt. That makes sense.
No. I think I looked it up and it was 2011-12. Wasn't like that, but it's definitely a training kit. They haven't used it which is weird because it's missing sponsors on the side. So
I did enjoy the training photos that Melbourne Victory have put out the last couple of weeks with big blue tape marks across the chest, covering out the Gonza logo.
Oh, that's great. It's like, I remember, I think it was probably about 2010 to 2012, Adelaide had a series of like solar companies who just repeatedly went bust, weeks after starting their sponsorship deals with the club. So they'd have, they basically just had a big square that they just placed the new logo on every time that they'd get a new sponsor in. It's great.
Now, okay, I have a bit of a tricky question for you. And Ross, I know you're conflicted, but this whole season has been about the fairy tale stories of the Central Coast Mariners and the Wellington Phoenix. Sydney in the dumps early, got rid of their boss. They've come back well. Melbourne Victory started undefeated, get one loss, and they, flick of a switch, turned into this team that then was just drawing all their games. Have been solid defensively, but not so flashy going forward. And it's been those stories of the Phoenix and the Mariners playing so well under such adversity that has captured their attention. And would such a season be let down by a Melbourne Victory Sydney FC final? They are two giants of the competition. There is no debating it. They are the most successful clubs, add in the Brisbane Roar during a select period as well in the league. But I'm sure, I predicted Mariners and Phoenix go through to my final when we did our predictions. I feel like that's what the league wanted and the league needed, especially with all the need for optimism at the moment. But what do you reckon? Victory Sydney, it doesn't feel like it would categorise this season very well.
Yeah, it's a bit of a letdown. I think Wellington should have made it. Realistically, they should have been the team that made it against Central Coast. That was the ideal final for the big end to the big fairy tale ending. But it's a bit of a letdown. Victory doesn't. I don't really think we deserve to be in a final, considering how we played post Asian Cup, particularly. But look, again, Sydney's kind of been nowhere as well. So I don't know. I think Central Coast win either way, if I'm honest. But if they make it through this game, obviously. But I think they would win either way, depending on who they played. So, feels bad, a bit of a letdown. But what can you do, I guess?
Jacob, how would you feel about a big blue?
Ambivalent. I mean, just, yeah. So we're back to 2015? I don't know. It's been a few, hasn't there, of big blue?
Yeah,
finals?
There's been a couple.
Yeah.
I forget when the last one was.
Oh, well, at least it's not City, I guess. One day Adelaide will be back and I'll care. But
I mean, if Antonis was here, he'd tell us, that's the nature of the league. All you need to do is have a good form run towards the last few weeks. And if you can scrape yourselves into finals, you're only 3 games away from a granny. So that's just the nature. I mean, I guess that brings back in the debate of the championship versus the premiership, right? Obviously, we're an Australian sport first, so the winner of the grand final is celebrated. But you ask a lot of football people, and they won't claim that the premiership is the bigger prize, but they will claim that it should be. And, Central Coast, obviously, they're still leading this game. They're still in a run for the treble as well, but winning the premiership, that is the traditional footballing prize as well.
Yeah. It's sort of Australian sport loves a final, and to be honest, I do like the excitement of it as well.
Oh, absolutely. They create great moments.
Yeah, that little something, and especially because we've got the Australia Cup, but it's still not yet this really established competition as
it's a pre-season cup.
Yeah, the knockout thing, and for the A-League clubs, it's it's the final series is that knockout tournament, and that's where the excitement comes from. Yeah, I mean, you can when you're not winning it, you can take it or leave it. And when you are, it's the most important thing in the world. That's how it is.
Ross, you're a bit of a European fan. Do you have much of an opinion of the final series?
Well, up until a couple of weeks ago, I didn't even know there was 2 legs in the finals. So
That's true. That's right. You didn't.
that is very true. Look, I don't know. If they extended the league to play more games, it's the same anyway. So it's, as Jacob said earlier, it's like teams play tournament football and then they play league football. And Sydney, he was mentioning how they played, the style of their play is very tournament football-y, which makes sense for the way they're playing here. But I don't know. It's weird. I'm just thinking to the Premier League and imagine just Arsenal wins a league and then they get knocked out by Brighton in the round of 16, whatever it is. It's a bit weird. That
happens with that happens with the League Cup or the FA Cup, or
it does. And Man United's in the FA Cup final, so I'll take it. But
that's what I'm saying. Is it's because the cup tournament here isn't as established. It's the final series is still important.
I agree with that. Again, if the Australia Cup was more established into a more FA Cuppy sort of vibe, then I don't think this final series would matter as much.
I do really hope that we get some kind of League Cup format with the A-League and the NST that plays the final is around the A-League final series as well. Maybe if you have a week off between the regular season and the final series as well, and that's where that League Cup final comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, if you have finals teams playing in it, they're not too disadvantaged. But maybe that's becomes the first round of the NST as well. First round of the NST in a week between the regular season and the A-League finals, and they got the League Cup final as well. And then those teams, that NST team gets a bye if they make the final or whatever.
Interesting.
And it has a cup series that runs parallel with the A-League season as well, that probably holds a little more prestige. Because if you're talking about, Sydney FC, if they win the championship, I'm sorry, but you can't call it a double. Yes, you've won them in the same season. Actually, probably the better example is teams that win the cup a couple of months after they win the A-League the season before, right? That one's different because it's a different season. And I understand they hold them at the same time, but you're not winning them in the same season.
It was a bit weird, yeah. It was
if you win the Australia
Liverpool
Cup at the start of the season, then you win everything at the end.
Yeah.
Sure, you can call it a double or treble, but it's so long ago. It's pre-season, it doesn't even feel relevant.
It's like when Liverpool won the Club World Cup or something the year before, and they've claimed it as a six-tuple or something. It was wacky as it was.
And the Community Shield as well. No one would ever throw that into that mix.
Well, that's the perfect example. I think is that it's the pre-season, it's the lead in to the proper the proper stuff kicking off, and that's the problem, is that the Australia Cup is sort of in this limbo period where it's it's not in season, but it's still, you're going to be carrying the squad that you had from the season before, but then you're also going to have some people that you've signed that are going to be playing there, that'll be playing this season, and then players Adelaide had Craig Goodwin playing in the last cup, and it's but now he's not here, and that some of the signings that they'd made for this season weren't that, it's this whole sort of mix of sort of this transitional period where you've got players coming and going, and I think that doesn't help things either, because the squads don't necessarily have their identities yet, and so it does sort of just feel like a tune-up or a warm-up for everything else. The latter stages, sure, that sort of the semi-finals, the finals, they feel a little bit more refined in terms of because you're closer to the season. The grand final is what, after round 1 or something, isn't it? So
it's varied a lot.
But it's relatively close to the start of the season, so it's right, okay, this is the squad that we've got, this is the team that we're competing with this season, so it does feel a little bit more relevant in that sense.
Well, Melbourne Victory won the Australia Cup and then they came second last that season, but technically the season after, it made it was
the other Economides goal.
Yes, exactly. But like, yeah, they won it, but then they came second last, so it was a bit confusing as well. But
In my
And we probably should talk about that more for Melbourne Victory as well. The fact that they've made a grand final off the back of a really poor season the year before.
yeah,
it's always up
been a
and
good
down for
turnaround.
Victory, though.
Well,
So
traditionally it hasn't. Traditionally it's been up.
traditionally has been
then
up, but it's every for the past 5-6 years it's been second last, third, second last, first, second last,
Yeah,
second. Like
that's true.
it's just every year we have a good marquee, we kind of just fall.
But back on the cup as well, I think holistically, I think it's important to have A-League teams and NST teams mixing as much as possible.
Yeah,
and there'll probably be a little bit of hostility early on. We see that in the cup sometimes, in the Australia Cup sometimes. But I think the more we get them just mixing with each other, the more plausible a pyramid becomes. I hope.
Maybe. Let's see.
Let's see. A long way away, but
very long way away.
You can dream. One can dream.
It would be nice, wouldn't it? But I think just making sure that football is stable in this country is probably the bigger priority at the moment.
Yes.
With all the news that goes around all the time, it's always doom and gloom. So, if we start to turn that around and trend upwards, that would be nice.
I'm going to touch wood before and probably after I say this, but there's the last couple of years, there's been so many things that have happened. You think grand final decision, you think pitch invasion as the second half gets underway here, and then you think the layoffs at keep up, and then you think the betting scandal that came out yesterday. You just think, well, it couldn't get any worse than this, could it? Like, surely this is it. Touch wood again, just as I finish that point, but surely it is only up from here.
Yeah, you think so?
You got to get 2 years through this broadcast deal and just focus on getting the product in the best possible shape it can be. So when more bidders come around, you can get the best possible price, because sport in the 21st century is built on the back of broadcast deals. That much is a fact. So when you're talking about the financial viability of the game, it's not selling off more of the APL to private investors. It's not, transfers are great and clubs are going to profit off them selling young kids internationally, but it's not long-term sustainable, or probably consistent is the right word as well. So you have to get a good broadcast deal, and that has to be the chief focus for the next 2 years.
Well, I like what Alex Brosk said on The Global Game, the most recent one of that, where Simon went on about exactly that, about the broadcast deal. And Broski said, well, it's, the fans, were sort of crying out to be these key stakeholders in the game, but we got to, show why that should be the case. And by doing that, it's supporting the game. It's by investing in it, by watching the games, on the streaming services, showing that there is a support for it. Otherwise, you're not going to get a good enough broadcast deal, come the end of this contract. So it is, it does also fall on us as fans to make sure that we are watching games, that we're promoting it as much as we can, so that it looks like, a viable investment for, whoever decides to try and sort of snap it up.
Well, yeah, let's go down the rabbit hole. Why not? There's a couple of reasons why I'm still very optimistic. Number one is people like Bill Foley and Ross Pellegra, who are clearly very interested to put money into the league. Now, the APL were asking for 25 million for the licenses for these expansion teams. It's believed that Foley paid unders on that by a little bit, which, it's a business deal. It's negotiations and whatnot. And we know that Ross Pellegra only paid $1 for the Perth Glory Football Club.
Fagani's just sent off one of the Mariners coaches.
Oh my God, yeah.
So he's just given him 2 yellows.
He's just given him 2 yellows. I don't know who that is. Do we know?
No, I do not recognise him. Oh, he's just flipped off the camera. Okay. That will be a little bit of a longer suspension then than
there we
game.
Go.
But wow, okay. Yeah, that props me up a little bit.
Had GS on his tracksuit.
Paletti saying Danny Schofield.
Danny Schofield. Soccer Twitter will have a field day with that. Yes, they will.
They sure will.
Is that on the YouTube chat, by the way? Are you both getting these before me again?
No, that was just in our group chat.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I can only imagine there was a yellow card, then he kept talking
There was
to another one.
I saw the back end of the first yellow.
I saw him run out
Oof.
of his box, and
Okay.
then oh my.
And
Yeah,
then he
and
sat
he said
down.
something else. Yeah.
He sat down and was mouthing off at him, and Fagani just like stared at him, and he kept going, I think, and just pulled out the second yellow.
Again, do people not know who they're dealing with?
Clearly not.
Well, Schofield, thank you for interrupting my my point. But yes, no, people like that investment from Peligro came with a commitment to put for $25 million into the football club. So people are willing to invest. So obviously there's a bit of buy low, sell high here. This is kind of the worst it's going to get. Let's get in now. But then also, like, you look at guys like today, like the stadium's selling out. Like there's definitely reasons there, and I've completely lost my train of thought. So I'm padding while I try to recover the path that I had before.
That's why you're not worried for the future of the game in Australia.
Oh yes, no, sorry, I remember my point now. The current leadership in the APL as well. So we look at the decisions that have been troubling. Of course, this is when Danny Townsend was the face, and I know if Paletti's listening, their argument is that the face is what they are, and decisions are made by other people. Well, not other people, but including other people as well. And of course, there are multiple board members. But at the end of the day, he was the leader. The new independent chair, Stephen Conroy, if you analyse the decisions that have actually been made since he's come in, you can really draw a line quite clearly. And we think the layoffs at Keep Up, obviously that was tragic, and that is the result of poor management. But the actual decision to make those redundancies, that in itself was a necessary decision, right? Otherwise, they're going to keep leaking money, and it was terrible for the people involved. They lose their jobs, and we don't wish that on anybody. But the fact that that amount of money was spent in the first place was the problem, and the fact that they had to let all those people go was a symptom of that first problem. And then you look at things like confirming that Gosford will be able to host the grand final if the Mariners progress. That's a very good move, and that was a popular move. So I'm optimistic about the current leaders of the APL as well. Of course, it's not all smooth sailing. I think the PA/marketing spin, or the PR/marketing spin, I should say, that's trying to put on some decisions like the Warren Dolan medals, trying to claim that as bringing it closer to fans. No, that's rubbish. You just can't afford it. That's okay. Fans know that, but just tell us and tell it straight. But yes, there you go. My 3-point summary as to why I believe in the future of the A-Leagues.
Well, my thing is just that, I mean, football, for all its ups and downs, it's never died in this country, right?
Oh, yeah, it never will.
Even after the dark days of the late NSL in the 90s, where it was like, you're getting crowds of 1,000 people and stuff like that. It's like, it survived still to this day. And okay, yeah, sure, it's with new clubs and stuff like that. But fundamentally, the game is still here. And to be honest, it's probably, in terms of the talent we're producing, right up there as one of the best periods for Australian talent in a long time.
Absolutely.
So, it's a case of it hasn't died before. And I don't think that the people involved in the game would let it either. I know that I've said this, I don't think I've ever said it on the podcast, but I've definitely spoken to you guys about it, how, there's sort of this problem with egos in the game here, right? And people are always in for what's best for them. But what's best for them is the game surviving, right? Like, you're not going to have a club to run or whatever if you let the game die. So it won't happen. In terms of the A-League, I'm with you, Lockie. I do think that we'll probably start to see an upward trend. I mean, COVID didn't help it either.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Yeah.
That was a big one, because crowds were rising and rising and rising. COVID comes in, cuts it by half, and then you have all the stuff that sort of happened. Crowds started to come back, then all the stuff that happened last year, and it fell off again. Like, it's just been really stop start. But I think if you sort of take away those things and you look at the general trajectory, it's been trending upwards, which is the best thing. And I mean, it's the best league in the world, right? So
Absolutely,
hopefully more of it.
And the league is so good that the Premier League is even trying to copy us, bringing in a hard salary cap and or hard. I don't know what the official
it's
term. I think it encompasses
yeah,
salaries and transfer fees or something like that, and agent fees as well.
something like
So some kind of hard
City will
spending
still
cap.
find a way to game the system and then get away with it.
Well, I think the limit's pretty
Um,
high. Like only Chelsea is the only team that would have nicked it in the last year or
Yeah.
so. But yes, no, they're trying to get competitive balance. Look at that, A-League leading the way, and the MLS. People love that comparison, don't they?
They sure do.
The
It's
Australian American.
I'm so sick of it. America is just infinitely more suited to professional sports than Australia is. By simple virtue
Yeah,
of the
there's a
fact
lot of
that
money in
the
American
population is
soccer.
hundreds of times larger, and there's so much more money in there. Like
Yeah,
Ross said,
like 14
it's
times
not
larger.
a fair comparison. Yeah,
Yeah,
Not
well,
by
when
hundreds.
when you get offered a club as a part of a deal to sign for a team, like it's a bit
yeah.
weird.
The fact that the A League draws comparisons to the MLS, I think, is a statement as to how well that A League does with what it's got.
Very true.
More
Yeah.
so than it is look at us, we're only as good as the MLS. Like, no, that's a bloody good achievement considering how much money they pump into it over there. Like we've seen Giuseppe Bovolina this year go over to Vancouver Whitecaps. It's like they're getting players from us, right? Like, they're looking to us for the talent, and I think that's a good sign that we've got something good here.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Football will never die. It'll shapeshift and present different forms. But, the NST as well. So exciting. It's going to be great to have another national competition.
Yeah. I mean, I'm equal parts skeptical, but also like I'd obviously want it to do well because it's good for the game if it does well. And I've spoken to a few people about it. Who I spoke to the chairman of Playford City here in Adelaide, and they were one of the clubs that put in an expression of interest for the second division. And I went into it and I was like, there's no way this is going to pan out. And like after having a chat with him, it's like everybody there has full faith that it's going to work out. And
Really?
it was and it was also a case of they're like, well, if it doesn't work out, it's like nothing gained, nothing lost. We just sort of go back to where we were already anyway. Okay, yes, we might have lost a little bit of money, but we're not.
You probably pushed the idea back about a decade or so as well.
Yeah. But like it's I went in thinking there's no way it'll pan out, but the people involved with it have full faith that it will succeed and it will do well. And I think that's the key thing, is if you have people behind it who have its best interests at heart and who really want it to succeed, more often than not you'll see that will happen. There's obviously a lot of question marks about logistics and funding and stuff.
I think there are some fairly big question marks still around the financing of it.
Yeah.
I know you've spoken to a few people. I've spoken to a few people. There is still a little bit of doubt. We saw Melbourne Knights put out a statement a bit over a month ago now. Talking about how they won't be involved, and their view for whatever reason is that the competition should be scrapped. There's been plenty of speculation around what the intent of that message was, but there are definitely still question marks. I don't think there's a lot of doubt that the competition will get underway, but the first couple of years are going to be very important to set the scene. A couple of subs here. Miguel DiPizio has been a bit of a star off the bench in the AFC Cup on for Thea Harris.
I was about to say, he's had some good appearances off the bench.
And Edmonton for Qual, we've seen that a fair bit as well.
Yep. If it's not one way, it's the other, with those two. Just switching around. The thing with Edmonton is more than Qual, he opens space up for other players. So, the likes of Docker or DiPizio will probably find a little bit more space with Edmonton on the field than they do with Qual. So that might be, obviously a change that Jackson has made with that in mind, to try and just open the game up a little bit more, because we've been talking about the game's got to open up soon. It's got to eventually, but both teams have stayed relatively compact. and we've not seen that. So this might be a change to try and sort of force Mariners' shape into finding that space a bit more easily.
Of course, it's 0-0 on the night, but the state of the game is not reflective. The aggregate is 2-1. I'm sure if you're watching this stream, you understand how this works. But of course, Sydney are chasing the game, and we're half an hour to go now, Ross. And Jacob's right. At some point, risks have to be taken and moves had to be made to try and get Sydney back in this.
It's a corner for Mariners now.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Miguel Docker.
Is that long sleeve as well, Ross?
My one. What was that?
Yeah.
I love a long sleeve. Yeah.
Okay,
Long
it's
sleeves are
definitely
good.
not a playing shirt.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I like it.
It's good. I like a long sleeve. It's good. When I play outdoor,
Yeah,
I play long sleeve
I
as
agree.
well.
Long sleeve is infinitely better than short sleeve with like compression sleeves underneath.
I've got like a short
No,
sleeve with
I like a
compression. I
compression
can't do
sleeve.
long sleeve, but I requested like a long sleeve, mate. Like someone can make a long sleeve of my kit, and they told me off. So I had to buy like a $40 compression top, and I have my 2 of them. So
Wow.
it's terrible. But
And you have to get one that's like the same color as the kit as well.
exactly,
To
I
fit
had
the
to color match.
regulations.
I had to color
Yeah.
match. Yeah. And then I've got like, yeah, you have to get the sock tape. Like it's terrible.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Do you cut off the bottoms of your socks?
I don't cut them. There's no point cutting them. Like it's dumb. It doesn't do anything. If you've got like if you've got shin guard sleeves, you don't need to cut your socks.
Can
Well-
you tell
well,
my
don't
brothers
people,
that? 'Cause
like,
they do it
prefer
every
wearing, like,
season.
Don't they prefer wearing like the sticky kind of grippy
Yeah,
socks?
grip socks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can wear grip socks underneath the actual socks, which is what I do anyway. Because my
Does that
boots are-
work?
my ankle's gone, and I just wear ankle socks anyway underneath them, and it helps. I don't even know what grip socks do.
I mean, I guess it's the same theory as like they're trying to grip the bottom of the boot, but then the boot touches the grass anyway. So I don't know. I've never
I
worn.
play like 30 minutes a game.
I think it's
so
also
like I'm not on enough to make an impact.
Ross the super sub.
I literally come on anyway at the end, and then like,
Miguel de Ross.
oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah, like I just come on to cause a fuss, pretty much. Like it's. Like a long
And then
sleeve,
you
yeah.
got the whole like cutting the holes in the back as well.
Yeah, I
for
don't
the, for the big
understand.
calf people.
I don't understand. Like it's
Yeah.
That
I
just
think
looks
it's all
ugly.
a head fit. Like it's in people's heads. You know,
Look,
it's
the
like,
level
oh,
I'm playing
other
at
people
is
do
not.
it, so
To be
it
fair,
must
good,
work.
so-
I can attest that sometimes if you get a pair of socks that are a bit tight, the calf does start burning
Yeah,
a
I
little
get
bit.
that. That's where you get it. Like, yeah, my socks are massive. So it's like
See,
I.
Yeah, get socks
know.
that fit you properly. Like problem solved.
Well, sometimes they fit well, but like at the top there's a bit of elastic that's like really tight, and they can dig in as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, I get. Yeah.
Yeah.
The level we're playing at, people should not be cutting their socks. Like it.
If you cut your socks up and you got holes down the back, you're getting 2 foot.
Also,
like 10
if
minutes.
I've paid for my socks, I'm not cutting my socks.
Oh, was that over the line?
Ooh.
That was close.
Or was it
Oh.
handball even?
Ooh.
Go on for the moment, Ryan Grant. Bongman down. That looked very close.
I think there's 2 appeals there for the Mariners.
They're
Was it
gonna-
over
yeah.
line? Was there a handball involved? Because I'm not sure who that Sydney defender was on the line, but it did come close to
That looked
that
very
sort of arm
close.
region.
Ali Razor.
Is he check? Oh, no, he's not checking.
He's on the case.
Wait, is he going to the VAR screen? No, he's just.
He's having a
telling
chat.
him to
Bruno
be quiet,
Pereira.
yeah. Telling him to be
Yeah.
quiet.
Oh, maybe
He
saying,
just said, "Don't
Get
worry
back in
about
the
it."
technical area.
Again.
He doesn't. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Okay, here. Oh, that's a handball,
was,
isn't it?
Was that Bratton? Yeah, that looks like it.
Handball on
that's
the
a red
line.
card as
Oh no,
well.
chest.
Oh, it
Sorry,
did hit chest.
reverse
Hit
angle
chest.
got me.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good block.
It's shoulder, if anything. Yeah.
It just
He is
because the
very
way the
lucky
hand
there.
like tucks in, you think it's been hit, but it's not.
Mm.
He's actually made an effort to remove
Yeah.
his hand there as well. You can
Yeah.
see his arm
Yeah.
like go outwards a little bit. Yeah, inwards to try.
Oh,
Sydney on the
Fabio
back row.
Gomez cuts it back. Oh, it's a
That
goal!
one-
That's over the
oh!
line. That's over the line.
Was
That's
that
over the line. That has to be over the
That's
line.
gotta be over the line.
No, I don't think it was.
I
don't
think
ref
it
hasn't.
was.
The ref hasn't.
I think the clearance was too
Nobody-
late, but the
nobody's
liner
given
hasn't
it.
given it. So now we don't have goal line technology, but VAR will look at all the camera angles they have to see if something's definitive.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's too late
Oh,
now.
within inches of pulling Sydney FC to a tie in the leg. We've had goal line clearances, potentially. All Ali Razor stopped at mid-play.
Oh, they've
That usually
stopped it.
means one thing.
That means VAR.
If you're going to stop it before it then goes out,
Yeah.
and he won't need a screen check here, this will be goal or no goal straight from the people in the VAR booth.
Yeah.
Here comes the
That was
replay.
just, what was Nisbet thinking there? That was a poor pass.
Yeah, good ball from Gomez as well as Storm Rue gets dragged over.
It's a bit sloppy as well.
And
It's
Robbie
very,
Mack,
like, yeah.
deflection off Kaltak. It's close. It's close. That's very tight, but I reckon it's a goal. But what angles do we have?
I think
that's a goal.
I don't think the whole of the ball is over the line. I don't think
think
it
it's a
is.
goal.
I think it is. It's hard because of the angles we have.
I think it's.
They're
a
not
goal.
going to have
Blocked
definitive
by
proof
foul.
here.
You can't even-
This is going to be, I'm guessing straight away, this is going to be a ball that's gone over the line that won't be called a goal because they're not going to have definitive proof.
Yeah.
For me, this angle in the corner of the goal,
This is
that
a
tells
terrible
me.
angle. That's a goal. This
Can
angle
they
is
like
a goal.
draw the lines like they would with offside?
Like for an offside, I think that's a goal.
Yeah.
You look at where his feet are and how he's swinging, I think that's a goal.
But a ball is a 3D object and that's a 2D image.
Yes, I know, but I think the
Yeah,
2D
but what
image
is-
is slid enough where you look at it 3D and it's a goal.
I don't know. I give benefit of the doubt to the solid defensive work there. Maybe that's
Oh,
my
This is going to be
when I
a ball
played
that's
10
crossed
years
the
ago.
line that's not going to be given a goal.
You give the benefit of the doubt to the fairy tale, I think. Let Central Coast have it.
He is going to the
wait.
screen.
He's going to the screen.
Oh, wow.
That's not going to help
What?
things.
What's this
Though.
going to show? The screen shows nothing.
Like it's either definitive or it's not. If you have
What
to send
angles are you
the-
gonna get
the
here?
Yeah,
on-field
see, this I
ref over-
disagree with.
What angles are you going to get here?
Oh,
Oh, is that
offside?
offside.
Oh. For what?
No, but that's not. He's not.
Oh,
impeding
Gomez isn't affecting the
anybody there,
play.
No, because Kaltak gets to it anyway. That you
Yeah,
can't call that offside.
Nah, that's
Nah.
not offside.
But that's what
It's-
they'll be.
it's-
That's
So
what
they
they'll be
must be
calling
saying
him
it's a
over
goal
for.
then.
So they're saying it's a goal, and that's
saying
an
it's a goal,
offside,
but it
and they
might
want
be
them
offside.
to
That's
check
actually
whether
in,
that's
by the way. This
whether that's
replays
impeding.
in, yeah. The
Oh,
deflection.
we're listening
Let me turn
in.
the sound on to try and hear him.
Offside. So he's saying it
offside.
did cross the line, but he's giving offside. Oh,
Oh, wow.
that's a really big call.
That's a.
Chris
I'm-
says it's
I'm
the
gonna say
right
that's a
decision
bad-
offside,
No, that's a bad call.
in his opinion.
Gomez did nothing. Gomez did nothing to impede anybody there. Yes, Kaltak had to go around him, but Kaltak still got to the ball.
Oh,
wasn't
yeah, I
like
don't know
he
about
was-
that.
And he's
denied
taking a
playing.
shot as well. He's taking a shot. It's deflected to the other way.
So Mac takes the shot. Gomez is definitely in an offside position.
He's
There's
in an
no
offside
doubt about
position.
that. But
He's in an
he's
offside
not
What does
impacting
he do there
Kaltak's
that's
ability to get to the
impeding?
ball.
He does nothing. No,
Does
he does nothing wrong there.
Does
I'm-
Kaltak have to take a slight sidestep that only affects him briefly, but because of the margins we're talking about, he has to take a slightly longer route to the goal line. That's the only thing I can think of.
I'm getting the Laws of the Game app up to have a look at this because I'm sorry, but to me that there is no way he has impeded anything there.
Maybe we need another angle of it, but maybe he has to go slightly to the left just to get around him.
But the ball was going right and then deflected left.
So
Like,
they commit an offside offence if they are in an offside position when the pass is made or the shot is taken,
yes.
and they interfere with an opponent by preventing an opponent from playing or being able to play the ball.
So
by clearly
that's what it would
obstructing the
be.
opponent's-
But he's playing
No,
the
no,
ball.
because that's only line of vision. Challenging an opponent for the ball. He didn't challenge for the ball. clearly attempting to play a ball which is in close and that action impacts on an opponent. He didn't. He was just standing there, and make an obvious action which clearly impacts on the ability of an opponent to play the ball, which again he didn't do.
Caltech
He
got
just
the
stood
ball. Caltech got the ball, so there's no impeding.
I,
Yeah.
I, there
No,
was
no, Ross, that's
obvious-
not correct. That's not correct because it is impacting. It potentially is impacting the time it takes for him to get to the ball.
Yeah.
It's about whether it was an obvious action from Gomez to get in the way, which I don't think it was, because he was just standing there.
But hold on, are you maybe confusing the words obvious with purposeful? Is standing between Caltech and the ball
Yeah,
obvious? It might not be
true.
intentional, but is it obvious?
It's
He's
obvious,
obviously
but it's not
standing between them.
intentional.
That's
It's
true.
obvious, but it's
That's
not
true.
intentional. Yeah. He's just standing there
Which
'cause he's
clearly
there, yeah.
impacts on the ability of an opponent to play the ball.
Maybe when the margins we're talking about, like the ball is only, a couple of inches over the line, maybe it matters that he has
Yeah.
to take a tiny little sidestep. God.
I don't know. I'm sticking to my guns on
That's going to be debated at nauseum, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What is soccer Twitter saying? What are we getting?
Probably just a lot of outrage from Sydney fans and just Mariner fans laughing or something. Probably. that's what I'm expecting.
Also, I'm already seeing this Danny Schofield moment go completely viral.
Yeah.
Chris says, the way I see it, the ball's path was obscured as Caltech was moving towards it. The ball's path was obscured as Caltech
That would be like
was
the idea of blocking the line of vision, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
moving. Oh, so he couldn't even. Maybe he couldn't see it for a split second.
See the
To get off.
Yeah, he's made the run late because Gomez is in the way.
Maybe it's just because of those fine margins.
Probably.
Wow. Massive call.
Saying it was
Massive
in.
call.
It's interesting
Very,
that
very
would have been in as well.
Yeah, Danny Schofield, peak A-League moment, number N.
So again, so for that line of vision argument, again, it's that clearly obstructing the line of vision. So
Yeah.
was him being there, was that enough to clearly obstruct that line of vision? If that's indeed the argument that was made for giving the offside, because Fagani just said it ball crossed the line, but Gomez was in an offside position, so it's no goal. Like,
Yeah.
It didn't actually explain why him being in an offside, because there's nothing wrong in being.
Do you
in
want
an
them to
offside
pull out
position,
the rule book and
but-
go 44A, 44B?
I do. I want them to, yeah.
Passes
Make
in
it clear for
opponent's half,
everybody,
324 to 91.
Well, we're 20 minutes left now, and the state of the game is still 0-0. Sydney need to chase one goal on the aggregate. They're going to have to keep pushing.
Spiced up a bit though in the last 10 minutes, which is
Yeah.
good, because it was getting a bit stale there, and like we said, it's got to open up surely at some point, and now it has. So let the floodgates,
Let it flow.
just-
Here come the three
open
Mariners goals that I was
yeah.
talking about. I love this from Stuart Randall in reference to the victory game. Been so long since Traore scored, his last goal was live on SBS 2.
Oh my god.
Is that actually true?
Well, they did have the free A-League broadcast for a little while, so that might work
Yeah.
in.
That's probably like 10 years ago. Ish.
Wow, well, we've got to come down for this. We've got a big 20 minutes of football ahead, and it's all to play for a spot in the grand
And
final.
I haven't eaten in ages.
Do you not have dinner before we came on?
Nah.
Well, if we go to extra time, you may be excused from the live stream momentarily to sustain yourself.
To grab
Just get the food in there. We'll do a mukbang.
Yeah.
Go Burgess. Oh, that's a good touch. Oh, far post.
Cam Burgess actually went to my athletics club.
Who?
But Burgess.
Who?
Burgess?
Which Burgess? You said Cam.
Yeah, it's one of the younger ones, I think. Which one is it? Let me work it out, because he was 2 years older.
I don't think Cam and Max Burgess are related in any way.
Max. I think Max came to my athletics. He did. Let me see the other one.
Cam Burgess is what, like a Scottish import, right? He was one of those guys that never actually grew up in Australia, or did
Not Cam. No, Max.
Robbie back. Oh, didn't know where that deflection was going.
Ross has confused himself here, I think.
He's confused
Max
himself.
Burgess. Max Burgess went to my
throwing
athletics
different
club.
Burgesses around.
The one in the Premier League or the one in the A League?
The A-League one, Max Burgess.
The one who partied with Ed Sheeran in a toilet last week, or has finally got a start for Sydney FC. That was amazing, by the way, those videos that came out. Ed Sheeran, of course, long-time Ipswich Town fan, and his tour is the front of shirt sponsor for the club as well. And there were some great clips thrown out in the last couple of weeks of the Ipswich team celebrating with him. And for some reason, one of them, they were just all in the men's bathroom, just jamming out.
Guys, this is a normal place. Yeah, it's just where you congregate. Yeah.
Sing some tunes. Mas Luongo and Cam Burgess, of course, the Aussies in that team. Apparently, I haven't watched them, I won't pretend to, but from what I understand, both pivotal parts of that team.
Luongo in particular has got this like cult following with Ipswich fans. So, it was crazy because he was in the news obviously earlier on, let's say ages ago for, his international retirement and the decision to focus on, club football, and it's paid off because,
and that retirement is not a closed door by any stretch. I was listening to the maths guys. I think it was Josh Parrish who was, I might have got that wrong, but I think it was Josh who said that he had the opportunity to throw in some questions for an interview with Rene Melenstein, the assistant coach of the Socceroos. And the line from him was, very much that the door is always open for Mas to come back. And you can kind of understand why, right? Like it was he didn't want to say he rejected the Socceroos call up for the Asian Cup, so perhaps saying he retired was the line. But now he's in the Premier League, does what he wants, right? So door always open.
Yeah. I just love that Ipswich are going to be in the Premier League. That's so good.
It's so great.
Luton in the Premier League, and now it's going to be Ipswich. It's like, more of it, please. I don't want, the Burnleys and the Sheffield Uniteds to, come up and then go straight back down. If you're going to go straight back down, at least be an interesting team we haven't seen before,
Who's going to win the playoff final, Jacob?
I think Leeds.
Yeah,
but
honestly, probably.
Who is
Leeds.
it? It's Leeds versus
Southampton.
Leeds
right.
and Southampton. Yeah. Either way, they're sort of teams that are annoying to play when they're up in the Premier League. So,
Southampton have been on this big dip, right? All the way down to League One.
Yeah.
Of course, the Doco. My favourite thing about the Southampton Till I Die Doco. Oh, take a quick pause as Mac Burgess is running forward. Oh, that. Did they hit a hand? Did they hit a hand?
I don't know if it did.
It looked to be slightly away from the body.
I think it was who was the Sydney player there? Seemed to be the only person that, and obviously Uffy as well.
Yeah,
he's gonna want a penalty at this stage. But yeah, he was the only player that looked convinced that there was anything.
I guess the real question is, did it hit his thigh first and roll up his body
with an appeal?
No one cared. Yeah, no one said anything.
The game is just going on, so clearly nothing.
By the way, the fact that the last VAR call wasn't a goal makes it even the more interesting that play was stopped live. Like they didn't wait for a throw-in or anything. They just stopped play completely to have a little pause and keep going.
Because they were like, well, they must have, I reckon what must have happened, and it's obviously pure speculation, but they spotted both, obviously, did the ball cross the line and was there an offside? And they figured one way or the other, there's going to be a restart to play. It's not going to like be a drop ball if no decision is come to, because there's going to be a decision one way or the other. It's either a goal or it's
that's.
I think.
Wait, they've let it go.
That's a hand.
Yeah, that's one of those ones.
Yeah, but he has made the made the effort to remove his.
Ooh, I want to see another replay.
I think that's that natural position thing. It's by his side.
He's pulled his arm away, but it's a bit too late.
Fabio Gomes. Oh.
I thought that was going for the top corner there, but it's straight at Vukovic.
It had a good flight on it, didn't it?
It did.
Comfortable save in the end, though. Had a good flight from our angle.
Yeah.
They're pushing hard now, Sydney.
Mm-hmm. They've got 12 minutes, 11 minutes to get a goal.
Get it out wide, Burgess.
Or it's... Look how compact that sort of midfield unit is for the Mariners, though, in terms of just dropping players so quickly to join in just in front of the back four.
Good clearance by Caltac.
It goes without saying, right? I mean, Caltac's one of the best centre-backs in the league.
Yeah.
I hope his clearances are pretty good. There's an art to it, though, that a lot of people think it's just, hit the ball as hard as you can, but you got to, time it, place it as well. You don't want it just going straight back to the opposition. Bit of head tennis at the moment.
Christian has just popped up in our group chat saying, how is that not given? I really want to see another angle of it, because I didn't get a great look, because it definitely hit his hand.
It did hit his hand. I think it is that case of natural position.
Yeah, by the looks of it, he definitely tried to, he made the effort to remove his arm. Doesn't matter how late it was, I guess, but
maybe what we should start doing is just cutting football players' arms off. Can't be handball if you've got no arms. You can't take a throw in either, but I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
The Sydney FC admin on Twitter, another bizarre decision as a clear handball is waved away. Someone needs to bring these social media admins into check, because there's too much of that rubbish.
Yeah. Was it the Nottingham Forest one that went off recently in the...
Yeah.
To be fair, that was a coordinated effort from the ownership, but yes. I think
it's still pretty funny.
I think the best ones are the ones that are in the moment, and the admin's got approval from no one. They're just throwing it out there to get the tweets out, to get the impressions. I remember the Western Sydney, when we went through that whole stigma phase, there were a couple of interesting ones during that period as well. Well, I will say, Jacob, I might agree with you with that natural positioning argument, but let's run that one side by side with Arzani before we do the podcast on Monday. We can have an interesting discussion about that.
For sure.
Well, the Cove in the corner there making plenty of noise, trying to spur their team on.
They've not stopped.
Have they made changes? Have they made changes to their setup, Jacob? Now that they're getting more aggressive?
They're definitely getting more aggressive. Well, I think it's actually that the Mariners are a little bit more passive. They've dropped that counter press. And you can see them sitting quite deep. They've still got the 4-4-2 shape that we're accustomed to, with Nisbet up front alongside whoever's playing as the 9. But that midfield unit I spoke about before, the double pivot there, staying very compact to the back line, not allowing that space between the lines as much, which means that when Sydney do get the ball out into these wide areas or into the half space, they don't have the opportunity to work the ball into the box as easily, because it's really tight, narrow and compact. Sydney, in terms of what they've changed, it's just a case of, from what I've seen, of almost sort of throwing more bodies forwards and just trying to see what works. The wingers have really struggled to get into this game is the key key takeaway so far. I think they've looked best going centrally. Fabio Gomez has obviously had a couple of chances and created a few for others. Oh, ball in behind.
That's a poor header from Ryan Grant.
Oh,
Anyone else on the pitch would probably back to bury that, you know.
Flag was up.
But that's the sort of thing, though, that's the sort of run that Courtney Perkins could have made, you know, if he was playing that deeper role, if he was playing as a fullback, right? But having him higher up sort of negates that. And I think Courtney Perkins, honestly, is more of a goal-scoring threat than Ryan Grant is. You know? So with the way that Sydney have set up, I think obviously they're missing Lolly, so they've got to play somebody out wide. But I think they've missed a trick with Courtney Perkins, because he's not been able to get into the game in any real capacity on the ball. And off the ball, he's not been able to contribute defensively because he's, you know, further up the pitch. And they've not used that really high intense press. Bit of wrestling there between Kautak and Fabio.
Paletti has come in and said, confirmed by an FA spokesperson as well, natural position for that handball shout.
Right.
And 20,059 in Gosford.
Full house, that industry group. And their team is going to go through to a grand final if they can just hold out for another 6 minutes plus stoppage time.
Treble.
Treble is coming. The treble is coming. They're going to face Melbourne Victory. Well, of course, the winner of this game will face Melbourne Victory.
You'd back them over the Victory, right?
You do, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone backed Wellington against Victory, so it's...
That's true, especially at home. Like,
well, I mean, that game was always going to be a toss of the coin.
It was.
It's always going to be close.
I thought it was destined for penalties at one point. And then Victory scored, and then there was the equaliser, and you thought, right, now it's going to penalties. And then Economides scored, and it's like, well, we've seen this already. Wellington are just going to equalise again. Like, sloppy passing again. It's been...
It's
break away from Docker. Oh, is it behind? Nisbet, another header.
His options. Nisbet with the header.
I couldn't believe it last week when he got that free header just in the middle of the box. And, you know, he didn't really come close to scoring, but I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Like, how often is Josh Nisbet really practicing headers?
Yeah. Well, but it's also a case of maybe he should, because who's going to mark him over someone else in the box in that situation, you know?
Maybe he gets on Brian Kautak's shoulders and just... Yeah, you can see from that goal kick what I was talking about with the compact double pivot, because the wide players were slightly higher up. And then the two central midfielders just as deep as they could be without being, you know, in line with the centre backs, basically. It's just keeping the ball in front of them. It's worked so far. I mean, Sydney have had a few chances since about 65th minute or so. They've come into the game a bit, but well, that's a nice flick on. Oof.
That's where it's dangerous. And that comes down to sort of the marking scheme. And I haven't seen enough of the Mariners this season to know exactly what they do with their back four in terms of marking, whether it's sort of a mix of a zone and a man. You very rarely see man-to-man with a back four nowadays. But when you're sitting so compact, you have to know what the person next to you and the person in front of you is going to be doing, because there's less space to be able to make up for any mistakes. And so when, you know, Sydney get the ball in the air there and can do those little flick-ons, that's where you can sort of create a little bit of trouble for teams, because especially teams that sit compact, because, you know, which is the player that's supposed to go to the ball, which is the player that's supposed to mark, you know, it can get a bit confusing and cause some problems. But again, Mariners are just resisting. And they're playing almost sort of like we've come to see from the Phoenix this season, in terms of just inviting, you know, Sydney to come towards them a little bit. And, you know, they'll probably end up getting a goal on the counter or something.
It's a Sydney throw. Yep. Possession back. 2 more minutes left in regular time. I think Matt Burgess has done all right today, coming into the starting 11.
It's been okay. Yeah. Obviously not had the end product that would probably have liked, but nobody on the pitch has had that end product, so yeah, it's not exclusively a him problem. But he looks good when he gets on the ball. It's almost sort of got playing kind of like Daniel Larzon he's been doing for Victory, in terms of he's got a bit of freedom when he does get on the ball to go inside or outside, either link up with the wingers or try to work the ball into Fabio, and it's paid off for them so far. He's a big, strong player as well, which means that when he does get the ball, he doesn't lose it very easily, which helps.
It's anywhere will do territory now for the Mariners. Saw that Jacob Farrell clearance. Just hoof it away. Out of danger.
I'll be honest, Farrell has not had the best game so far. He's been kept busy, but he's made a couple of errors both in possession and out of possession, where there was that one in the first half where he sort of slipped near the sideline and let Sydney through to attack the goal, and in possession he's had a few poor passes and touches, and nobody's going to be perfect every game, but it's definitely not been the standard we've come to expect from him.
Sydney are pushing in. They've got all numbers situated around the box. Oh, another header from Gomes. They got to run out of chances here. We're about to see the board go up. Oh, Jaden Kaczarski's coming on.
That rain is coming in sideways. That is not weather that's fun to play in.
How much? 5 minutes of additional time.
5 more minutes. That's about right. Because even that VAR decision, it didn't actually take that long, because it was kept in play for so long, and then it was 30 seconds or whatever.
Well, do we not technically go back to the start of that?
I don't know. Do we?
I think it's.
Maybe we don't.
It's a good point to
I think
raise.
it's from when the whistle's blown or play stops. Yeah.
So, do we count the time, though, between when the decision, when the actual thing happened to when we then stop play? Does that time exist or not? I don't actually know.
I think it does. I think it does.
I think it, yeah.
That might come into consideration. That might be why there's 5 minutes.
Right. Because in American sports, they love to rewind clocks back to things.
Stop the clock. Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm not sure how it works in football, to be perfectly honest. Oh,
he's taking his time here.
Yeah, blocking it in the corner. Oh, Caceres has done well there.
I've never seen that work, by the way.
Yeah,
well,
you
can't just go and then stand over it. You actually have to get behind it and defend it.
Yeah.
Oh. Sydney's still in the mate.
Massively.
Well, one sub, haven't they?
I can't see Sydney doing this.
No.
Oh, Edmonton. Oh.
I think their chance was that one that went to VAR, to be honest.
Yeah. Ballard and Nisbet both choosing to go to the corner rather than attack the goals. Doing the professional thing here.
How Mariners are feeling at the moment. It's just, we can hold on here. Because realistically, if they felt Sydney were a threat to score, they'd probably be looking to score themselves. But
it's almost getting to that point now where it doesn't matter though. If you have a lead,
that's true.
Yeah, you got 3 minutes to go. Just do what you need. Yeah, do what you need to do.
But I was saying, I've seen it backfire massive.
Jacob Farrell did not go to the corner. That's got to be frustrating, actually, from a coach. You spent all that work for the last 90 seconds to hold on possession.
Yeah.
And then your left back just thumps it from 50 yards out. Not 50 yards, not quite, but you know what I mean. He's gifted him back possession.
Yeah. if that was like going to be the last kick of the game, you go sure, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's like there's still 2 minutes to play.
Yeah, 2 minutes left. Sydney will feel very hard done by if they don't manage to get anything out of this game. Oh,
That is going to be a massive talking point. So you're definitely right. And probably
that's a foul.
Sydney fans won't let. Oh,
no foul given.
Oh,
how is that not?
I thought
been given?
Gomes had front position there.
I don't.
Yeah.
Dan Hall as well. They both look hurt. Oh, he's coming super hard there, Dan Hall.
He's goes and straight through the back as well. Like he's not played the ball; he's gone with his shoulder into the back.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah.
Oh, it is a free kick. He didn't blow it initially, but he's getting the pain out.
Is it a free kick or like a give the ball back?
No, it's a free kick. He got the spray and set up the free kick spot.
Well, this is it then.
There's probably 60 seconds once this resumes.
Yeah.
Luke Bratton over the ball. It's not out of the question for a direct effort here.
It's not, but is Bratton the best?
Oh,
choice
Robbie Mack.
For a direct
It's a
from
little
range.
far.
Robbie Mack maybe.
Yeah, he's taking it.
He's a player I rate quite highly, actually, Robert Mack.
Our tenuous link to the Euros coming up in just a
Yeah.
couple of weeks. Oh, he's chipped it. It's pass.
It wasn't a bad delivery from him. It was in
No,
the
not at all.
area. Just
Oh!
nobody,
God damn it.
nobody could.
Wasn't super close, but it was a chance.
I think that's it now.
There's going to be a
Looks
little
like
bit of time just because of that head knock.
Yeah.
But you can imagine they lump it long here and Sydney no more than one more attack. They're getting ready to celebrate.
Well, just off the bench and almost had that chance to win. Oh, well, not win it, but take it to extra time.
Yeah. Oh, Sydney FC fans not happy. With Daniel Vukovic taking his sweet time. It's a free kick to Sydney.
Game. Oh no.
Dockers
Dockers thought
picked up and boozed the ball, thinking the game was over. Oh, that is brilliant.
all the fans went up thinking it was over as well.
Yeah,
The
he didn't
crowd
know.
was-
Oh, that's hilarious.
Nah.
And he's got a yellow card
So
as
you'd
well.
say there's
I
probably
feel so
about 30
bad.
seconds here. There's one more chance for
This
Sydney.
is the last attack, yeah.
Yeah,
Last chance.
No.
Oh, they won
that's gonna be
possession.
the game now.
DePizio is out. Oh, that's a Mariners throw. Yep. That has to be it, surely. Don't need the lip seekers to figure out Mark Jackson's word right there to Luke Bratton.
Yeah. That's great.
What the-
He's already on a yellow. Oh, who's just been given a yellow?
Farrell. Delaying the
has?
game,
Okay.
even though he never had the
Yeah.
ball. This has to be it. They're
Actually,
taking
yeah,
it to the corner.
that's-
7 minutes of 5 added. It should be a goal kick. It is given as
So
such.
yeah.
It's done.
Play continues. One
How
last
long
roll of
is
the
it?
dice.
You'd think
That's it.
Sydney have got. Oh, there we go. It's all over.
The Mariners have done it.
Back-to-back finals.
One game away from a magical treble. Will Booth, I hope you're listening because it is coming. They will host the grand final. They will welcome Melbourne FC. Melbourne victory
Melbourne FC.
to their shores.
Whoa.
And you call yourself a fan, Lockie.
It's going to be the Mariners versus the Victory in the A-League Grand Final. It'll be played at Industry Group Stadium for the first time in the league's history. The Mariners making more and more history every week. Oh, hearing on commentary, I don't know if you guys are listening, that Anthony Caceres has received a red card after the full-time whistle.
So that'll apply next season then, I'm guessing.
Yeah, missed the first game or missed the cup. I'm not sure how
Oh,
it
the
works.
cup. It might be the cup. Yeah.
And
Wow.
I'm sure the microscopes are going to come out as well on the offside. The goal for Sydney FC disallowed. It's a big call, but they held out well, the Mariners, in the end. Sydney put all they could at them. Could not get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Will says in the group chat, let's go, Mariners treble secured. The word is unbanned. I do fear victory. Sorry, boys. Maybe he means don't there. I'm not sure. But they are one game away. It finishes 0-0, 2-1 on aggregate. The Mariners progress, guys.
Yep, there we go. At least, one of the teams that I thought. No, I didn't even think that they'd make the final. I thought Sydney would beat them. So there you go. I'm
completely wrong
with my my bracket. So that's that. Yep. No. Fair play to the Mariners. They just held on, did their job. Sydney couldn't get anything going, and okay, yeah, we're going to talk about that VAR decision for a long time to come, I'm sure. But the breakout, that was it. Andy Harper or Robbie Slater on the line with that meme's going to get a run out again, I'm sure. But yeah,
it's Robbie Slater. Yeah,
it's Robbie Slater. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Nope. Yep. I don't think a surprise to many after going into this game with that 1-goal advantage.
Yeah, it was last week where they won it, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Big
and
test
how do you
for them to go to?
Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay. We're managing it. How do you think they'll? What do you think they'll think about the matchup? Because Melbourne victory. Let me get up the past results, but I get the feeling they would have been more comfortable playing against Wellington, maybe just because they beat them at home a couple of weeks ago. They know what's required, whereas Melbourne victory, you kind of never really knowing what you're going to get on any particular day.
2 draws and a
that's definitely true.
Central Coast win. Last 3 meetings.
So they do have the edge. Of course, one of those results was courtesy of a Bruno Fornaroli goal of the season contender as well.
I'll tell you what, there are some horrible trims in the crowd.
Worse than the bleached hair from Ali Qual?
Need to be out of it. Worse than that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there was the double red card for victory, the 1-0 loss.
Yeah.
The 2-2 draw. I think that would have been gather round. And then another 1-0 draw. Yep, okay. So they have the slight edge on the head-to-head. It's going to be fascinating. We're going to break it down all for you on the A-Leagues of our own podcast on Tuesday morning will be the release of that one. But Ross and Jacob, thank you for being here tonight. I guess any parting comments before we sign off on this one?
None for me. Yeah.
Nothing that I can think of.
I think it's pretty expected.
Have a good week, everyone, I guess.
All right, see you later then. That's all. Thank you all very much for joining us. We've had a couple of you guys in the chat. I know there's been over 100 at some points on Twitter and on YouTube. We do appreciate you joining in. If you do like this format, let us know. Jump in the comments, and if you want to see us do it again, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the grand final. We'll figure that out. But obviously a big off season ahead, with the Copa America, with the Euros, the Olympics, more World Cup qualifiers. Football does not stop. And, of course, all the state leagues in action as well. So plenty of football content to come before we get back into the A-League for another year. But there is still one game to go. It is the grand final. It will be in Gosford. It's the Mariners versus the Victory. But look forward to that one. We're going to break down all these semi-finals on the podcast early next